everyone. I'm terribly sorry about the delay at the beginning of this meeting. There are quite a few people downstairs who can't physically get into the room, and I need to go and have a chat with them because obviously they decided to turn up.
John, can we take the room downstairs then to give everybody a chance?
Yeah.
We can't because the room downstairs, unfortunately, is hired out by another organisation. Well, I would just say you're all in the room now. We'll try and.
No, everybody downstairs has a right
We're
to
not
hear
all in
as
the
well.
room, John. There's a lot of people that aren't in the room. You just said that.
I've just been talking to everybody downstairs. They're all happy, and they're all happy they're not coming upstairs. That they are absolutely happy. If you don't believe me, you'll have to go and have a chat with them yourself.
Carry on.
So, do they know it's live?
Let's just
Actually, everything.
Has it started?
So, are we live on stream? I need to do a little bit of housekeeping because there's quite a lot of people in the room. If there's no fire alarm scheduled for this evening, no test. So, we do hear the fire alarm. Please, can we orderly go down the stairs? The ones who came up, if those are blocked, there's a fire escape at the other side of this wall here. Please don't use the lift if fire alarm's going off. If you need the toilet, there is a toilet just outside the door here. Turn to your right, the immediate door on the left. There should be water at some point in the building, but if you want a glass of water, please come up to the table and grab one. Okay? And there's a lot of people in here tonight. So we got public participation, and in our time-honoured way, we normally say 3 minutes for public participation. I appreciate there's a number of people who want to speak tonight, and actually, you know, you're quite rightly passionate about the issue you come to listen about. But first of all, I've got Emma King, who I have seen. is run by Mendip District Council. And, okay? So we have no LTN, plans for LTN. Now, this council has never debated, it's never come up, 15-minute cities, 20-minute neighbourhoods, 15-minute neighbourhoods. We've never debated it, we've never had it on the agenda. As far as I'm aware, it's not going to be put forward as an agenda item anytime soon. And I certainly think that in some context, it wouldn't really be something that this town would be big enough to even consider. Because as somebody put on Facebook in response to this, there aren't many places you can walk to in the town that don't take 15 minutes to get to. What I would say is that it might be irrelevant, but I'm just saying this council has never, ever decided. There's never been on the agenda. So whoever was telling you that it was on the agenda tonight has misled you in the same way that you're misled by the list that apparently came from UK 100.
They're not being misled. This is a top-down operation. It's a massive agenda, multi-trillion-dollar. They're not going to give in just because you turn around and say, well, we're not having it. They want the whole globe covered in this. And they're not going to stop because we're dealing with psychopaths.
Okay, so look, I have the great honour and privilege of being the Mayor of Glastonbury. I can tell you that Glastonbury Town Council...
You put that flag up there now, didn't you?
I tell you that Glastonbury Town Council is not doing 15-minute cities, 20-minute neighbourhoods or 15-minute neighbourhoods. I'm telling you that now in a public debate that's being screened on YouTube. Every one of our meetings is screened on YouTube. So if you want to, look at this again and hear me say it, this is not something that's happening here, and Mendip District Council have never signed up to 15-minute cities.
What about Somerset? Do you know about that?
Well, they haven't signed up to it, but as far as I'm aware, but I'm not a member of Somerset Council. There are two members of Somerset Council here. I'll just ask them quickly.
I am the a Conservative unitary councillor. There was some suggestion that this had been passed historically. Yeah. I spoke to the Conservative leader. I can literally, anyone that wants to look at my phone can see, and he said, I only heard of 15-minute cities yesterday, and I absolutely do not support that. I'm answering the question. So if you want to disbelieve him, you can write to him personally. I can tell you, I asked him, and this is the answer he gave me.
Don't have to shout.
Well, I clearly do if you're going to try and shout me down when I'm speaking.
Well, everyone's quiet. The lady was heckled. The lady was heckled.
No bother, Susan.
And I don't know, I'm sure Nick can speak for the Lib Dems, but...
Yeah, I'm quite happy to speak for the Lib Dems on this one. And as far as I know, Somerset County Council has not endorsed it. There was one of our members who seemed to recall a long time ago that the previous administration had done it, but he could be mistaken. It's quite easy. It's quite easy. Long time ago, memory. We've got.
No.
So we have an ex Somerset County councillor here who would know, and if Terry would know.
I can tell you that the first I heard about 15-minute cities was about, I don't know, a fortnight ago. And I thought, what on earth is that all about? It certainly was not debated at the last millennium. So I can tell you that it's nothing at all to do from the last millennium. Whether it's going forward now, no. I don't know. And we're being told no. So please adhere to that. That's all I can tell you.
Well, I guess the place to go and ask that question is to go to the meeting of the new unitary authority when it meets and ask them the question. But as far I understand sanctions, but just to reiterate, this council has no plans and has never debated 15-minute cities, 20-minute neighbourhoods or 15-minute neighbourhoods, and that is the best that that is the best I can do as the mayor of the town, is to tell you that. That's the truth of it.
Yes.
If there was, well, yes, of course, any decision by any group can get overridden in certain circumstances, but As far as this council is concerned, we're not doing 15-minute cities. Well, it means,
If they said that Glastonbury had to do it, would you fight it?
I think that Glastonbury would fight it, wouldn't it? Well, we represent the people of Glastonbury. If the people of Glastonbury don't want 15-minute cities, then we represent that, don't we? That's what we're here for.
Yes.
Right.
Hope so.
Well, if we don't, you know what to do next time there's an election, don't you? So, Sandy, would you like to speak now? I got it.
Thank you, and thank you. Well, Leela's covered a lot of what I was going to speak about, which is great because it leads me to look at the bigger picture. And yes, it's great that I couldn't find anything in Mendip District Council about 15-minute cities, but it's important that we know about them, and it's important that we know about low, the low emission zones that they want to implement in smaller towns. So what I'm just saying is basically, this ideology isn't a grassroots, the whole 15-minute city ideology is not a grassroots initiative. It's actually a global initiative. And it was brought in by Boris Johnson, Michael Bloomberg, and Carlos Moreno in 2004 under the C40 Cities International organization, which Sadiq Khan is now the chairman. Contrary to propaganda, it's not a grassroots initiative, yeah, I've said that, but a top-down global plan under UN Agenda 21-2030 to really roll out the 17 sustainable goals under net zero. I know that all the green people here are comfortable with net zero, but if you understood the longer-term implications of net zero, and I've given you all the absolute zero document, and I hope you'll read it because that coloured bit shows you what is to be achieved by 2030, and that means no flying out of the UK, no ships out of the UK, no cars at all, and no, all wood burners to be ripped out of every home and every gas appliance to be ripped out of every home by 2025. Now, that is a government document, UK fires, absolute zero, and this is where we're heading for with net zero. We will literally be imprisoned on our own island. And this is what this top-down global control is all about. You think it's a green agenda to actually save the planet. It is not. It was implemented at the Earth Summit in 1992 by a bunch of oil billionaires, crooks. And seriously, and all of you, bless you, are trying to save the planet, and you've been hoodwinked. I was in the Green Party in the 1990s. I left. I was a member of the Ecology Party. I left because it got taken over. It became a Trojan horse for the technocratic agenda that I'm talking about, Agenda 2030. And I tell you what, they planned this from the 1970s. It's a long-term agenda, and I would love to be able to give all of you a presentation. I've been on this for 15 years, and I've been giving talks all over the world about this via YouTube everywhere because I'm passionate about it. I've impoverished myself doing this, so I just want you to just hear me out. We're living now in what's known as what's coming is what's known as a zero trust world. So whether you know it or not, the digital ID is coming. Now, this is a big thing for everyone to understand. Digital ID is really the way the government will actually have all your data in one place. And they're bringing this in by December this year. This is really serious. And then they want the CBDCs after that, the central banking digital currencies. Now, this has got nothing to do with being green. It's big business. It's massive business, because underpinning this whole agenda are capitalist stakeholders. Now, this is what's worrying, is that this whole green agenda is based on top-down control of us, we the people. And unfortunately, people who literally glue themselves to buildings, bless them, they've got our best intentions at heart. They're barking up the wrong tree. They're actually supporting the people who want to imprison us. Well, it's communitarianism, call it whatever you like. But either way, it's not anything about our rights and freedoms. It's about destroying our rights and freedoms. And you know, Ian, you're a butcher. Look down that list. By 2030, they want to get rid of meat and lamb and everything. You know, this is ludicrous. This is all being done without our consent. All of this is in place. And the zero trust world means that you will not be able to, they're getting rid of VPN, you will not be able to open your computer or any other you won't be able to access your bank account, your health records, anything, or even go into a hospital without your digital ID. Your digital ID will be unlocked by your facial recognition, and in that process, you'll be data harvested. Your data will be harvested from all from your digital ID. Every bit of your information will be on there. That is being sold to stakeholders on the blockchain by non-fungible tokens. I don't know if you understand all this, but this is actually your data is being sold on the blockchain, or it will be. And this is a form of currency. This form of currency they will be using is the CBDC, is from the CBDCs, from the central banking digital system. Every time you make a transaction, everything's recorded, tracked and traced. And so they will know all your shopping habits, your health records, everything. All that is sold. So we are becoming a commodity. Us human beings will become a commodity. And that is what the whole global enslavement is about. And we have to be really careful because it's all tied up with the 17 goals and it's implemented by the United Nations. If you think the United Nations are our friend, you are wrong. The United Nations, oh sorry, I've lost the United Nations and the World Economic Forum are working together, and there's a document on that table which proves that the government are working alongside the World Economic Forum, and they are bringing in drone technology which will be surveilling us from the air. In that document, a government document, it says they will have 900,000 drones flying in our skies by 2030.
They're already here.
Well, we know they're here, but we're not seeing 900,000 of them. But you know, this is a bigger picture that we have to look at. And what I would really welcome is if we could have, I mean, the people in this room are worried about it. They know about it. And you know, if the councillors aren't aware of this huge pernicious march of AI technology, then we need to talk about it. This is Glastonbury. We can action things that will go out to the whole world. And that is the most important thing, John, that whatever happens in Glastonbury reverberates around the whole world. You know that, I know that, we know that. We have to really take some sort of action and stop this absolute march of AI technology that is actually there to control us, enslave us, turn us into a commodity and restrict our movement and turn us into a prison planet. Because the digital ID will actually stop you. It's like the Chinese social credit system. You will be stopped from doing things or saying things if your credit score isn't right. They will be literally, our whole currency will be run, because they're getting rid of cash, the currency will be run by your carbon credits, which has all been set up to trick you, basically, into not moving out of your smart city apartment, have everything delivered by drone, and to you to experience life through a virtual reality headset. That's all in the pipeline too. So we need to really work out where, is this a world that we want our children to grow up in and our grandchildren? And please, can we have an open and honest debate about this and about your green policies? Because it's not green and it's not democratic and it is actually working against us. It will enslave us. Your green policies will enslave us. Obviously, we all want a beautiful planet that isn't polluted. We can deal with that without the top-down control and the AI. And that's what we need to strive for, is a beautiful green planet, properly green, not astroturfed. And we must understand the whole thing with CO2 in this, because even I, as a kid, was taught that CO2 is the gas of life. It makes things grow. if you talk about net zero, it's zero you, it's zero me, it's zero plants, it's zero everything. And the carbon, CO2 rises from the sea. The most of it rises from the sea. It's not anthropogenic. It's not. And I want this to be looked at properly, because everything has been skewed by the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that was set up after the Earth Summit to actually skew all the data. And actually, it was all found out in ClimateGate 2009. Look it up, where the 1,079 emails were hacked by an American. I think that's why Assange is in jail. But by the Americans, actually finding out that the Hadley Research Centre and the University of East Anglia were actually lying about the climate data, which actually sent us into the whole climate change thing. So we need to, and also the Club of Rome have admitted that they've created climate change to make humanity if you like, the scapegoat, and make us the enemy. And that's in the first Global Revolution, page 115, a very interesting Club of Rome document, which actually made up the bones of Agenda 21, which became Agenda 2030 in 2015, when it was endorsed by President Obama and the Pope in Rome. But anyway, that's all stuff that I've been doing for the last 15 years. I honestly have got all the background knowledge into it, and I really, really want this town to wake up so much. It's been... Thank you.
Okay.
I have to say, I did talk about this 10 years ago over my kitchen table with you, John, and you thought I was a conspiracy theorist. So please think again. It's happening. It's actually happening now. And it's right, it's coming at us like a railroad train. We need to do something, and do something now about what's coming at us, okay? Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy. I think, considering the amount of passion and feeling that there is about this, the Glastonbury Town Council, since I've been on it, has been very keen to welcome what we call participatory democracy. And it feels like we've got a big town hall here. We should have a People's Assembly on this subject. So I'm sure that we would be delighted to host that with you. And we can talk about that at a further point. Thank you very much for speaking to us. We still have Fiona, who's going to speak about land off of Manor House Road.
Hi, thanks for giving me this time to speak, and I might have to call on Connor to refresh my memory as to anything I might leave out. There's a little disused stretch of grass at the back of the Manor House Road on the same side as the community garden. And I've been canvassing opinion for many years from anyone that I catch going down that way or when I'm in the park, and about beautifying it, putting in food for wildlife and people, and a piece of play equipment that can be used by adults as well as children. I'd like a big climbing frame and benches and a covered space, and generally just make it, allow it to fulfill its potential within the town. So I'm here to say we're doing it already. And and I'm particularly in touch around it with a young lad who uses the park a lot and knows a lot of the young guys, local young men who use that park, and a football goal maybe. But in any case, there's enough energy and interest to start this off now, which we have. We've put in a raspberry and a lily, and we'll be going on through this spring to plant it up along the edges so that it doesn't interfere with the grass cutting regime. and to hopefully have the council's approval on that, and to inform the people who do the grass cutting that we're doing that. I did try, couldn't get past the secretary. So, but yes, and also to ask if that bit of land, if the town council could please look at acquiring it off the unitary authority so that it's under local control. And anybody who's interested, I will put up a notice on the GMB notice board. Anyone who wants to dig or just be a part of it in some way, anyone who's passing who feels like watering the plants, that kind of thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm sure that Connor will be in touch with you to follow up on this. So thank you very much for public participation. It's now getting on for 8 o'clock. I would like to formally open the agenda of the meeting tonight to receive.
I should have been on the list from Manor House Road Community Garden.
Oh, I do apologise. Thank you. Yes, do come and talk to us then.
No, it's not, as you know.
I think Manor House Road Community Garden is a very sexy subject.
You can hear me all right, can't you? I'm just from Manor House Road Community Garden, and last time we were here, we did rather well at the awards ceremony, and I won't brag about it, but we got 6. So, we've got a wildlife place. If you haven't seen it, please pop down and have a look.
Could members of the public please respect the speaker, please?
Yeah. We've got a wildlife area, an allotment area, a kitchen and entertainment area, barbecue, seating area with a fire pit. And all of this has been put together by the people that live around there. We all pay £2 a month in to, be members of the garden. Our new planters were made of wood and made by my husband. So, we've got lots of events planned, spring equinox, the Easter egg hunt, summer solstice, bonfire night, winter solstice, and we hold our annual jumble sale to raise money for the garden. However, a lot of the people that come to use the garden are mobility restricted and disabled, and our plan is to actually build a bed along the northwest side of the garden. Is it? Oh, southwest side of the garden. So that disabled and mobility challenged people can actually come along and do gardening and participate in the community garden, because at the moment they can't, and obviously we'd need to put something down for them to be able to get to there, and design it in a way that all areas are accessible. For that we need money, which is why I'm here. So we've put in a grant application, and we've got lots of people that are really interested. We're using reusable bricks, bricks that were in buildings, and we're trying to make it really sustainable. And there you go, that's our grant application for you.
Thank you very much. So I'll try again. Now it is 8 o'clock to open the meeting formally. We normally, thank you very much. We normally light the candle at the beginning of our meetings and observe silent minute. So I wonder, Sandy, whether you'd be happy to light the unity candle for us. And when the candle's lit, I would ask if you would join me to stand for a silent minute in memory of all those who have passed over since our last meeting. Thank you.
Wait for everyone to leave first.
Thank you. So a silent minute is a time-honoured Glastonbury moment. Thank you for joining us. We will begin now. Thank you very much, everyone. So we open the agenda to receive apologies of absence and reasons given. Connor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Apologies for my momentary absence. The windows and sunroof of my car were open. As you can hear, it's raining. I've received apologies for personal commitments from Councillor Much and Alderman John Keary, and apologies from Councillor Price due to work commitments.
Thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest. Councillors, if there are any items on the agenda tonight which you know you have an interest in, please do declare them now. Yes.
I have an interest in something on item 8 concerning the planning committee.
Thank you very much. I am a member of the Glastonbury Town Deal Board, and I'm also, if it comes up in the meeting, a member of Avalon Community Energies Directors.
I'm a member of the Town Deal Board.
Thank you.
For the mayor's event, I'll be the mayor.
Well, hopefully, Councillor, hopefully. Thank you very much. If you realise that you have an interest whilst we're going through an item on the agenda, please raise it as a point of order. We now approve and sign as correct the minutes of the meeting on the 14th of February. And I draw Councillor's attention to page 77. '78. '79. '80. 81. 82.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, so a slight amendment on 82 to be Climate and Ecological Emergency Advisory Committee. So we agreed both that Councillor Osborne was a representative for the Somerset Bus Partnership, but we also recommended a task and finish group to make Glastonbury a bus destination. And there were 5 people who agreed to be in that task and finish group, and their names have not been recorded, so I thought their names should be recorded. Shall we do that now? Because I made a note of them.
Yes, Councillor, if you don't...
It was myself, Ronnie Dougal, it was Zoe Price, Lilith Osborne, Steve Henderson and Paul Manning all agreed to be part of that task and finish group. And I think that needs to be recorded in the minutes.
Thank you. I look to the clerk. Do you have that information?
Sorry, Your Worship, the copy to sign is the one you have in front of you. Would you like me to? It will be on now on the recording.
Yeah.
And I believe a date has actually been set for that task and finish group.
Yes,
Okay.
April the 20th.
So I will refrain from signing that page and sign it later once it's been amended.
Okay.
So 83. '84. What a long meeting it was. 85. Councillors, do I have your agreement to sign these as a correct record of the meeting? I will suffice.
Aye.
Whilst I do so, I would like to ask the clerk to give us an update of the actions from the last meeting. Connor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the actions raised at the last meeting, I amended the minutes of the extraordinary highways meeting and reissued them to the highways officer at the County Council. I did get in touch with the beat team sergeant and highlight that we hadn't had a written report from the police last month and that we were looking forward to one this month. I clarified the Section 106 funding for the basketball court from Mendip District Council. I'm pleased to say that it was planned for us to be in their payment run yesterday and for the money to be in our bank account so we can settle the invoice tomorrow. If that's not, I'll be doing some frantic phone calling and emailing. It was decided that there was to be a task and finish group through SEAC on the subject of making Glastonbury a bus-friendly town. That was passed on and I believe a date has now been set. The Property and Assets Committee terms of reference were amended and they will be presented just so that members can check at the meeting a week tomorrow. And the action was for myself to liaise with Councillor Roni Dougal on the amendments to the precept leaflet, which I'm currently making those amendments and I will send a version 2 to Serena later this week.
Thank you very much, Connor. So we now move to note the neighbourhood beat team update and latest police crime statistics. Is that them on the phone?
Unfortunately not, Your Worship. Again, we have not been provided an update from the beat team. I am, however, able to project the latest crime statistics because they were not provided to you beforehand.
Thank you very much.
So these are the latest crime statistics for Glastonbury from the Police UK website. So these are for the last 12 months to January of 2023, because there's a delay in receipt and the police collating and inputting the data. So this relates to January. So in terms of this graph here is over the last 12 months, the trend of crimes per month. So unfortunately, you can see there's a slight upward trajectory from December. This was the, well, I think the very right-hand side column is the percentage of crimes in the last 12 months that month attributes to, the total number in the middle column, and the month on the left-hand side. In terms of in the last month, so just relating to January, not the past 12 months, this is a table relating to the occurrence of these different types of crimes in the last month. So you can see the trends there for the different types of crimes. And when I can drop that down, you can see as a percentage, as a list, the different types of crimes that are reported in Glastonbury in a month.
Thank you very much, Connor.
And then I think, sorry, the last These are just the status of various crimes, but there's so many different colours on that pie chart, it's probably quite hard to explain the most, but the vast majority is still under investigation. So as I say, Your Worship, I did write to the police and request a written report from our beat team for this month. I haven't had one. If I do get one subsequently, I will circulate it, but I might take that up with the inspector as well.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you. Can we ask, Commissioner, if you could please either tell us why we put violence and sexual offences together, and if we can have them separated? Because I know that sexual offences were actually really quite high. It'd just be nice to have an explanation on that.
I can ask if our local police can provide a bit more information, but this is how they categorise crimes nationally. So if I put in any other area in the country, that's how they categorise them. So unfortunately, from the website, I'm not able to extract. I can get a list of, I can get an Excel spreadsheet of every single individual crime, but that doesn't give you this view without quite a lot of intensive data interpretation. But that's how they categorise them nationally. I can ask our inspector and sergeant locally if they're able to give us a bit more info, but in terms of having it split out for this crime statistics report, I'm just afraid that's just not possible.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to, point of clarity, check the status in relation to the Town Council of the possibly ill acronymed CRAC meeting with the police that is happening. Are they an advisory committee to the council, or are they a standalone committee? I know that some councillors are on that committee. Yes, Councillor.
Well, for the past couple of meetings, Inspector Matt Reid has been the acting chair, but there'll be somebody else may take over the chairmanship at some point. And it is, I think we did agree at the last meeting to become an advisory committee to the council, so we will be reporting at some point to the council.
Oh, well,
in the process of formalising the roles.
Thank you. Hopefully they might have chairwomen as well, but we will.
Chairman?
Yes, thank you. We, it would be good at that meeting to perhaps ask the police if they could provide us with a report.
Definitely will.
Thank you very much. Conor, will you pursue Sergeant Nancy again? Thank you. Yes, Councillor.
Can I just ask, when they
Would you mind standing, Councillor?
when they report this stuff, it would be really, really useful if they would put the national figures beside it so that we know what we're comparing to. If you look at it, it's shocking, but it'd be really good to see it next to the national figures. And also, just I read an article, I'm sure other people read it at the weekend, just saying, you know, really how all we're seeing is not in terms of the amount of crime, but in terms of police reaction to the crime and reporting of crime is countrywide dissatisfaction. And I think we should congratulate ourselves that actually we have got that working party. And I feel like we're like maybe one step ahead of other areas in trying as a community to help to tackle it.
Well said, Councillor.
Yeah, no.
Councillor Osborne.
I'd just like to reiterate what Steve said, and that this group is an independent group. It's not run by the council. It is the councillors are on the group as they represent the wards, but this advisory group is totally independent. I'd like to make that clear.
Okay, so I think we need to seek some clarity around what it means to be an advisory committee to the council, with perhaps with Conor and standing orders. So, councillors, if whilst the statistics are rather sobering, we can't do much about investigating them as the police aren't with us tonight.
One point of clarity. The next meeting of that group is on Thursday the 23rd at 7:30, and so we'll try and figure something out from that.
Thank you, Councillor. So, Councillor, moving on to item 6, to receive the budget monitoring report, and this should be tabled or in your papers. And I again would like to express our thanks as a council to the responsible finance officer for providing such a detailed breakdown of notes in relation to the budget figures. Councillors, would anyone wish to speak to this? Yes, Councillor Ronnie Dougal.
So the admin meant to be an income for Austin Memorial Home St Edmunds Hall hasn't come in. Is there any reason why that has not yet come in? 7,000, so it's quite a lot.
Yes, Councillor.
That'd be an annual income, and we're
We're at the end of the year, aren't we? So it should be in by now.
Thank you. Well, we'll ask Conor to make a note of that question. Councillor Cook?
well.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just run through a couple of things. Mainly the wages again, historic wages. Now we've got here, I've still got 1, 2, 3 items. Now, as far as I can see, item 1, which is on page 1, 164,925, etc. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items there. That to me adds up to 215,225. Then you've got over the page, you've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 payments, which is employees again. Then employers NI, superannuation, staff uniform, training, etc. Now that adds up. And then what I'm not sure about is premises maintenance general, what that involves. Have you any idea what that is? Does that include extra staff or?
No, I mean,
It includes that.
Well, that was...
without being facetious, Councillor Cook, because I don't mean to, that is general maintenance on the Town Council's estate. It's a big old building, you know,
yeah.
Walls need repainted, windows need fixed. It's
Staff then.
Sorry?
Doesn't include staff then.
Doesn't include staff.
Councillor, there is a note to that item 15 on the front sheet relates to that. The larger amounts are no doubt related to the boiler and the lift works that had to be done.
It still looks to me like we're in the region of 380, 400,000 on wages. Still can't pin it down. That's my problem, or our problem, because I think we're still overstaffed. We're paying too much anyway, that's for sure. Because I make it, and that's where we've still got March to go, which is another 20,000. Yeah?
Yes, we still have a bunch to go, yes.
So we're looking at, we're looking at 380, 400 overall, which to me strikes me as quite a lot.
Well, Councillor,
if we're going to be appointing staff this year as well, next year.
And your point is that we're overstaffed.
I believe we are. As I say, I can't get to the bottom of how many we've got, and I'm not asking. But the question is the money, considering we've had to put the precept up from 415,000 to 650,000, 415,000 is all we get, which I assume covers our wages of about 400. So now we haven't got much left to spend on much else, especially if we're going to be looking at employing other people this year. You see what I mean?
I see what you mean. I think we might ask the
balance.
So would it be correct to ask the responsible financial officer to give us a breakdown of the staffing structure for the council to have a look at, see how many members of staff we're employing and what their roles are, and then perhaps have some united amount of money that is just relates to the staff costs that the council are incurring, including on costs, etc., so that we all, as a council, have a better idea of how much we're spending on staffing costs.
Transparency for the ratepayers who are paying for it, obviously, is essential, I believe.
I agree with you.
Not necessarily a whole table of who's working here, who's doing what. I don't think we need that.
I think an outline of the members of staff in a kind of tree map. So who the line managers are, going down to who the workers are. Yeah.
I mean, it's good business to do that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
May I just raise your worship? That information has been provided in terms of a snapshot in terms of staffing costs for the current year and future years and previous years regularly during the budget setting process since about October. If you'll remember, members noted setting the budget that this was the year, well, out of all that have previously gone, that the council has been the most informed about exactly how it spends its money. We have 12 individual members of staff, that is 10.95 full-time equivalent. The staffing budget is actually underspending by about £7,000 or £8,000 this year. because the budget included the previous town clerk's salary as well as the transitional town clerk's salary. Now, the previous town clerk retired 11 months early. Some of that money was redistributed and hours were awarded across the team, but staffing is going to underspend on what was set in the budget last year. And I can provide again the breakdown of exactly what staffing this town council has. But as I say, Councillor Cook, you've regularly had that since October.
Thank you very much.
I can assure you we're not understaffed.
Sorry?
I can assure you we are not understaffed.
All right, okay, well.
Overstaffed.
So, thank you very much for that point. Any other points against the budget monitoring report?
If members are done, Your Worship, it is very useful if you do have in-depth questions, if you can let me have them in advance, because I don't operate the day-to-day finances, so I can actually get an answer for you from the responsible finance officer if there are detailed questions.
I think that's very, very wise advice to us, councillors. It's the responsible financial officer doesn't attend these meetings, as we know, and so it would be very useful if you do have questions related to previous budget monitoring reports or the ones that you receive in your papers, if you could let Connor know and perhaps CC the RFO, I'm sure that they would do their best to answer the question at the meeting. Any other comments? So if we note these, councillors, I will suffice.
Aye.
Aye. So we now move on to consider the schedule of payments, which is before you. So this is the point where our purpose in considering these is to scrutinise the spend of the council monthly. As you know, these spends will then end up in the monthly budget monitoring report. So if we're mindful of each of these payments during the year, we should be able to understand better how we're spending the money in the monitoring report we receive alongside it. So councillors, anything that you wish to raise in relation to the spend?
May I just mention, while there are no queries at the moment, Your Worship, this version in front of you is ever so slightly different from the version circulated. There was an incorrect date and a payment that appeared twice on the previous schedule that hadn't been paid twice. So this is a slightly corrected version, but largely is the same.
Thank you very much.
That's the one.
Yes, councillor.
Yeah. The
Do stand.
The cost, yeah. The cost of, I believe that must be people paying by card for their, where's it to? I had it here. I'm going to find it a minute. Hold on.
Car park machine charges?
Yeah, car park machine charge. That's quite a lot of money, isn't it? Really, the percentage that we must pay.
Which item are you looking at,
And
councillor?
second down from the top.
3.3, isn't it? I think.
233.
Yeah. £155.15.
Sorry, councillor.
233.
So that's what we pay to the. That's what
Which
we
is
pay
the
to the
correct
bank,
version?
obviously, yeah.
Well, the one you've got in front of you.
This one.
155.12. Just on that one, Your Worship. So we do have to pay a transaction charge every time that someone parks in the car park and chooses to pay by card. We do pay a pretty industry standard transaction charge, and I believe that's 1.49%. That's pretty standard across the whole card payments industry, and it is just because we do take quite a lot of money by card in the car park.
Yeah.
It is higher than it used to.
Yeah.
It is higher than it used to be. It is a cost that the RFO, it really grates upon her, but it's one that unfortunately, while we've got the same ticket machines, we don't have an option to change. However, the project in the car park with new machines, we might be able to get a slightly better transaction rate, but I'm certain we pay the industry standard 1.49%.
Right.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, do I have councillors' approval to sign off the schedule of payments? I will suffice.
Aye.
Thank you. While I do so,
we will now move on to note the resolution of the delegated committees. These should be presented to you. Rather than holding the meeting again, I would like to just ask the Chair of Planning, as a lot there, to just comment on anything, if that would be all right. Oh, yes, Councillor.
I want to raise something with what was on page 2. It's at the last council meeting, I raised the issue that the obscure glazing and non-openable windows, the condition 11, relating to 13 High Street, because Mr. Shah, who owns number 13, has put in openable see-through windows, and when we raised it, his response was to try and get a change of the condition. Now, myself, my neighbour Rob Macbeth, and the people in flat 3, Figaro, I can't remember the other bloke, and then all the people downstairs, the vegan cafe, Mel Kelly, Mark Ross, who runs the Green Shop, Elle, who runs Trinity. We have all objected to this, and yet on the planning committee, it went through unanimously. So you've got, I just don't understand why, when so many people, literally the entire block in number 15, are opposing these people staring through our windows. And also, we've got 2 jewellery shops and a shop selling alcohol. The whole thing about number 15 is we lock up at night. You can't, you know, we've got the gate at the back, we've got the front door, and we've got other doors inside. It is very, very secure. But it isn't now that Mr. Shah has put this in, and he's also going for another removal of condition, so that instead of just having it as a holiday place, he now wants to have it to have people in full time. So again, you know, it's called cheese pairing. What you do is you go for the most easy bit of planning permission you can get, and when you've got that, you start demanding the removal of different conditions. And Mr. Shah has done that really well here, and you've all fallen for it on that planning committee. And I really would ask that if this town council could do something to amend that, because I just honestly believe, and yeah, you know, I'm clear, I have got a vested interest in this. I'm one of the people being sort of looked at by the punters next door, and it's not very nice.
Thank you, Councillor. I think that this is a difficult situation. I totally appreciate that you, as a resident there, have raised an objection to this. We, on the other hand, as the statutory consultee, have to consider the material considerations related to the application, and any comments that we make have to relate to those. Obviously, being overlooked is one of those considerations, but during the meeting, whilst we had the debate on this issue, it was felt that that wasn't something that we, I'm speaking for the committee, wasn't something that we felt was pertinent or relevant at that point. So the committee, I proposed it, I remember, and the councillor sat next to you with his hand up, seconded it, and it was unanimously agreed. We have to take the position of the statutory consultee with the material considerations that we're able to decide on at the time. I don't know whether the Chair of Planning would wish to say anything further.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to remind all councillors and members of the public that they're all very welcome to attend the planning committee meetings and hear the debate. And I'd be very happy to hear any verbal support or objections on any of those items, or you'd have to declare an interest, obviously.
So I will come to Councillor Cook. We are subject to, in standing orders, what's known as the 6-month rule. So once we have made a decision, one of our committee or as a council, and this is delegated committee, once we've made a decision, we can't reverse that decision for 6 months. It can't be come back to. That's within the statutes, that's within the standing orders model from the National Association of Local Councils 2018. So unfortunately, we won't be able to reverse a decision, and if we could reverse it at a later date, it's already too late for a planning application. Councillor Cook.
Look, I'm afraid I've got to take some responsibility for this one, on account of the fact that I remember it quite well. I mean, we were glancing through items really, and if you remember, I think it was about trees. I came up with this. Well, why don't we get the application up instead of just looking at the drawings, and then we can look and see what conditions are, proposed or whatever, or put in or whatever, blah blah blah. So then, of course, along comes Lilith Osborne's application. And I read it, and I thought, well, I had thought, bearing in mind, I've had a lot of experience with drawing in an architect's office, etc., putting my own applications in, planning applications of all kinds of ilk. So knowing my way around it and the planning law, which I've had to use on several occasions. So I was well aware of the fact of conditions, but I think I was so blasé about it, having passed on information that all you have to do is look at all the other stuff in the application, and there's lots of it, lots of officers' reports and whatever, and conditions, and then complainants. So it was only after I came back from the meeting that I got a bit of an ear bashing, to say the least, supporting this motion. So, which we did, which you proposed, and I seconded, on the principle that, as far as I could see, well, he's making a variation, but so has he built it or hasn't he built it? I had no idea. There was not the information there, because all the information was there was that it was a 2017 application, so it should have been built within 5 years. How long has it been there, Billy, the windows?
About 4 years.
Yeah, so he's finished it, and now he's putting the variation in. So I thought it was really weird, and it must be accepted. What I failed to do was have a look at the chart I just explained to everybody else to have a look at. And it was only then when I got back home and I looked at it, there's this paragraph of Lilith Osborne's utter complaint. And I can understand her complete dismay. First of all, we're proposing something that I should have highlighted was, there's something very odd about it. And it's definitely, he's put the second-class windows in, probably about £300 cheaper than the ones you're supposed to put in. Well, that's not what you do. Well, you can, but if you've got a good planning department, which is usually mended, they're quite good at, they know what they're doing. They shouldn't let that go. So I apologise to you, John, for wrong information. I've apologised to Lilith for not being as methodical and as precise in looking at his application, and I think that's a good lesson for all of us on the planning committee, is to look at all of those columns and make sure there are no conditions, no complaints, no whatever, before passing an application. I mean, most of them are quite simple, but that I thought was quite a complex one. Although it's not unheard of, but you rarely get it. Conditions that go in with your application, then Mendip will give more conditions, say, oh, we want to see the colour of the stone, we want to see the colour of this, we want to see what that's made of. And that's how it works. So I kind of assumed that this was legit.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Lesson, but I'm sorry, John, for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Henderson.
Chair. Well, obviously this is in my ward, and I am aware of the application to change the condition from holiday lets to permanent residences. I wasn't aware of this particular change of condition, but the fact is that with the change of use to full-time residential, that will probably go through, because there's a lot of flats in Glastonbury, and obviously there's smaller places. There's smaller places in Glastonbury that have been granted permission in the past. This is quite a decent development. I mean, the units are very well done, I think. And obviously we need residential housing in the town rather than holiday flats. So I can see that the change of the obscured glazing seems a bit odd to me. I mean, I would definitely look into that and see why that's been asked for, but, with regard to the change of use, I think that will definitely go through.
The change of use is
Yeah.
not a problem.
Okay.
But the problem with opening the windows is the noise. We had to call the police several times. We've got holidaymakers in there making noise all night with their lights on straight into our things. So.
Oh, just one other thing, Chair.
Yes, thank you.
As next chair of planning and somebody that sits in the audience now and again, I always stress the importance of site visits. And this is just up the high street. You know, just to walk up there and have a look would have explained a lot, because you can't get the feel of an application by looking at a 2D drawing. You know, it's only once a month. There's usually not that many applications on the agenda. Just have a wander around and try and see as many as possible, because it helps you make a decision.
Thank you. Could we just note that Councillor Much has arrived at 25 minutes to 9. Welcome, Councillor Much.
Apologies for my lateness, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Only just...
So, Councillor Smythe.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just briefly, I think it's very bad practice. This application was considered by the Planning Committee. Due process was followed. Site visits were made. All the details were observed by many of the members of the Planning Committee. It's bad practice to revisit planning decisions made, especially when it's obviously very, very close to one of the councillors' residents, and Councillor Osborne has an interest. I think it's not out there very good for the public to hear this. So I'd be happy for it not to happen again.
Thank you. Well, we must always be mindful as councillors that if we have an interest in something, we shouldn't really talk about it. But I'm quite happy to hear what councillors have to say. We can't revisit the decision made by the council, and I'm sure that any lessons that need to be learnt from this particular item have been noted. So there do not appear to be any other resolutions from the other committees there. So, councillors, can we duly note these resolutions? I will suffice.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we move on to receive updates from advisory committees and consider recommendations for decisions. So, Glastonbury and Bloom Advisory Committee, I look to the chair.
Well, the Glastonbury and Bloom Advisory Committee, we've looked at a meeting that is going to be held here on the 23rd, which is the South-Western meeting for the area. It's the first time it's been held in Glastonbury, so we're quite honoured. And one of the things we're looking at as a committee and putting forward is basically that we need to engage more people in the town, more gardens in the town. I think in particular the Cottonstead, which is a beautiful garden, they don't enter. And I think that we're holding a meeting Monday.
Yes. Yeah. Just to fine tune the seminar.
One lady with a grant for Manor Road. We need to look at that. That's as much as we've got to say.
Thank you. So, councillors, if you look, the South-Western Bloom seminar is on the 23rd of March. We recommended to the council that £200 of the committee's agreed budget to be allocated for Glastonbury businesses who would like to enter South-Western Bloom businesses category, with funding of up to £20 on a first come, first served basis. So this is to support that. And then in the subsequent year, it would be reduced to £10 per business, and then would be reviewed in the following year. Yes, Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to offer my support to the planters. I still look forward to the day when we will have them looking glorious in the town, and we'll look back and say, remember when we didn't like those things? Don't they look marvellous? And I'm happy to see that they may be planted up by the Glastonbury and Bloom team. So good luck with that. Thank you.
Point of clarity, Your Worship. The planters have been mentioned on at least 3 committees recently.
In a good way?
So I note your thoughts on that, but first of all, there's a recommendation, I think we should take these in turn, a recommendation that £200 of the committee's agreed budget be allocated for Glastonbury businesses who would like to enter the South West and Bloom business category. This is because when councillors who have been to various seminars or various awards have noticed that the towns where a lot of businesses get involved, they seem to do a lot better in general because their name comes up a lot. So we felt that there might be merit in this. So this is a recommendation to the council from the Bloom board. I would like to propose that this council accepts that. Do I have a seconder? Would anybody wish to speak against that recommendation, that resolution? Have a show of hands, all those in favour? Thank you, that looks unanimous. So the tree tanks, the planters, it was resolved to recommend to full council that the trees are removed from the tanks and planted down Herbie's Field. The tanks are then either replanted with bedding or to try and recover as much of the expense of the tanks as possible by selling or sponsorship. Councillor White abstained from voting. Councillors, these planters have been a very interesting experience for those of us who were on the council when they were first put here. They have still, even in tonight's meeting, seemed to be very unpopular with members of the public, to say the least. And it's felt that that it might be better to admit defeat and plant the trees, which the horticultural members of the In Bloom committee say it won't be long before the trees are actually going to be too big for the planters, and it would be better to remove them now and plant them in the earth at the appropriate time of year, of course, and that at that point the council could reconsider what way forward should happen with these planters. So that's a recommendation from In Bloom. Does anybody wish to speak to this? Councillor Henderson.
Just one thing, Chair. Obviously, we bought these planters with the accelerator fund, or whatever it was called at the time, and how would we stand if we recoup some money from the sale of them with regard to that grant?
That is a very good point. I wonder whether we could ask the clerk to look into that. And maybe we could revisit this recommendation at the next meeting of the Town Council. I would look to, perhaps, if councillors were minded that there was merit in this, that this would be a formal proposal to the council, formalised by a proposer and a seconder, and be on the agenda. But we will wait to see where we stand in relation to the Accelerator Fund. Good point, Councillor. Yes, Councillor Smythe.
Thank you, Worship. I think it has to be remembered, though, that any replanting would have to be done now in the off-season after October, in between October and February.
Absolutely right. That doesn't stop us resolving beforehand, though, of course. We'll move on to item 3. It was resolved to recommend to full council that a memorial area for Glastonbury resident Dave Beach, using pebbles from his funeral, be put into this place. So we're talking about these bedding sites by the Winking Turtle Cafe, the memorial facing the cafe. I was a very close friend to Dave Beach. So I'd have to declare an interest in that, but I don't know what councillors feel about this. Does anybody wish to speak to that?
Well, I'd declare an interest too. I mean, I knew Dave for a lot of years, but I think it's a really good idea. And I mean, if we need a proposal, I'm happy to propose it. Or if you need a seconder to the resolution, I'm happy to do that too.
Sorry. So, does anybody wish to second that proposal? Councillor Smythe. So, anyone wish to speak against that? All those in favour? Thank you. That Councillor Cook, are you?
Yeah, I'm abstaining from that.
Abstaining. Okay, so
I am as well.
Oh, two abstentions. Thank you. Anybody vote against? So we have 2 abstentions. Thank you very much. I propose it was recommended to full council that the council consider changing the edges of the raised beds on the planters opposite the town hall due to the police report. This was seconded by the chair of the committee. It was resolved to recommend to full council that the council consider changing the edges of the raised beds the planters opposite the town hall due to the police report.
Sorry, can I have clarification on what they mean by?
As far as I understand it, there is, I don't know how to describe it really, but there is a sort of an exchange that goes on behind the cenotaph of drugs and money. And I think that we are looking to put mesh.
No, I think this is a different.
At the town hall.
This is the.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Over there where the dog's been fouling them.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. But I think that Mark and Jared are looking at that. And we are trying very hard to sort of replant and make sure that it is in a better condition than it is now.
So changing the edges of the raised beds in line with the police report. I think that relates to the planting on the edges, and that it would things that might be planted there will make it more uncomfortable for people to actually sit on the edges there. I think that there is. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Worship, if I may clarify, I believe I didn't write the set of minutes this has been copied from. It's not abundantly clear. I believe what the police report was referring to was not the planting within the planters, but around the edges. You know, they always have that slate capping at quite a low level that people can sit on. The police recommended that we change that to something maybe along the lines of cock and hen capping, which is a smaller brick and then a larger brick, or if we put something like iron fleur-de-lis along there. So I think that's what the police were recommending for the purpose of encouraging people not to sit there. But yes, the planting within the planters is recommended to go to roses, so that it's permanent planting, but also permanent planting that people don't wish to trample over.
So, councillors, does anybody wish to speak to this? The idea of changing the edging. Councillor White.
Thank you. I raised at that committee as well that those beds over there are good places for people to sit. As it gets hotter, if you looked at last summer, that was the only shade tree we've got left, sort of down in the high street. And there were people everywhere there. That's people waiting for the bus and all sorts. So I understood what the police report said, oh, there's maybe drugs and stuff like this, or throwing the cans or whatever. But I felt it should be a sitting area, and we should have more trees, quite frankly. So that was why I abstained at that point.
Thank you. Obviously, voting within the committee doesn't negate you being able to vote in full council. But Indra, sorry, Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd back up what Councillor White said. I do remember his report, and I was a little bit concerned that a few of the things that were said, that we are going to make a lot of people suffer for a couple of people's bad doings, and turning this into, just doing everything in precautionary. So no taking over the seats. Also, it sounded like, and I'm sure it won't be the case, but they actually wanted to take away a lot of the bedding, to take away the planters so that people couldn't stash drugs or whatever they were doing there. And that would severely change the high street. I would not back any kind of taking away any of the flora and fauna, or even the seating areas. There will be other ways of dealing with this, but I don't think this is it.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson.
Chair. I agree with two previous speakers. I've never known that to be a hot bed of drug dealing. You know, I walk past there a lot, and I'm looking out on it all the time. And I would say that if the police think it is, then just pay a bit more attention and pick up the people that are doing it, and they'll stop doing it. But I agree that it's a nice place for people to sit. It's outside the cafe area, if you like, and I think we should leave it to be that way.
Answer?
I think we agreed at the last meeting that we would not take any of the plants away and destroy it. We would leave it as a seating area, but we would plant it up so that it looks nice. And it looks as though it is a well-kept and well-loved piece, which of course it is, a piece of Glastonbury. And I must say, sorry, I'm not 100% clear at the moment when we were talking. I was actually talking about the cenotaph when we were talking, but I understand this. I think there was a put forward the idea of spiky plants, roses, all sorts of things, but we did agree that it was a seating area for people, and it was the only shade there is in the high street. And so it will be planted, but will be planted with bedding plants.
Yes, Councillor Rani-Dougal?
As somebody who uses buses and who quite often sits at that bus stop, I do know that when there's lots of people sitting at the bus stop, other people waiting for buses will sit on the walls by the planters. So I would completely recommend that we keep the walls available for people to sit on who need to, both for the shade concerns, for the people waiting for buses. And I would reckon it's not a hot drug dealing spot because it's far too central and there's far too many people going by at that point. Hanover Square is much better if you want to deal drugs.
Thank you. Councillor Cook?
Yes, I'd add that I've seen quite a few kids walking around the wall, this particular bed, so to put spiky plants or rose bushes or anything like that is going to be a bit of a danger to kids, and I would be very, very wary doing that.
So, councillors, it sounds like the consensus is to ignore that recommendation. Would I take?
Aye.
Okay. So we know.
Your Worship, does someone wish to propose that we refuse it? Or
Very happy to propose that we refuse it.
I'll second it.
Excellent.
All those in favour? That's unanimous. Well, at least we can tell the police that we had a look at it. Item 5, welcome to Glastonbury road sign. Resolved to recommend to full council for the Glastonbury and Bloom signs to be updated and with all the entrance signs to Glastonbury having gold winner signs. Property and Assets Committee to look at what signs needs general maintenance or what signs need general maintenance and replacement. So there's an extra S there. So the recommendation is that we celebrate our success by updating the in bloom parts of the signage into the town, and that that goes then to property and assets to look at what we need to do around that. Do I hear anybody wishing to speak to that or propose that that's a good idea?
Your Worship, are we still twinned with Ethiopia?
Yes, we are.
I see that is, but I've heard no more about it since one of the councillors left the town. And I just wondered whether we were still...
It's not the item we're talking about, Terry.
Yeah, we can send you out there, Terry, on a visit.
But there was an actual fact.
So councillors, we are happily still we are still twinned with Lalibela and with Patmos, and I believe that somewhere in our distant past with Bretonneux in France, but nobody talks about that.
We're also twinned with Atlantis if you're coming down from Wales.
So, councillors, coming back to the signs, do we wish to update the signs to show that we are doing very well in Bloom, or?
Yes. Yep.
So, can I have a proposal, please?
Yeah, I'll propose.
Thank you, Councillor Cottle, seconder. Councillor Smythe, all those in favour? All those against? One against. Any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you. War memorial planting to help the police. It was resolved to recommend to full council that a black wire mesh be installed on the railings behind the war memorial. It's seconded by me. I'm not sure who proposed it. The committee discussed that £300 should be funded by Glastonbury and Bloom budget to do this. The town council staff and the community service payback people could help with the installation. This is because that area is definitely being used for dropping off and picking up drugs. And the police feel that if there was a mesh there that prevented people from being able to stick their hand in, it would clearly resolve the issue. Anybody wish to speak to this? Do I hear a proposal?
I propose it. We back that resolution.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Much. Anyone wish to speak against it? All those in favour? That's anyone against? Any abstentions? 3 abstentions. Thank you very much. Hanging baskets for 2023. It was resolved that the charges for the hanging baskets for 23 were £30, and the hanging basket, including VAT, any additional baskets, £20. We have to do this, councillors, because this committee is not delegated to run its own affairs. We could, of course, decide to do that in future, so everything they decide doesn't have to come to us for resolution. But are we happy that the hanging baskets are £30 per basket, including VAT, with additional baskets £20 for VAT? Anybody wish to speak to this? Anybody wish to propose this? Thank you. Anyone wish to second? Thank you. Councillor Cottle. Anyone wish to speak against this? All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Finally, it was proposed and recommended full council that the full amount of £500 be awarded to Manor House Community Gardens grant application, seconded by Councillor White and resolved unanimously. This is the grant application we heard about earlier in the meeting. This application went to Glastonbury and Bloom. If Glastonbury and Bloom had delegated powers to award these sorts of things, it would have done so there and then. It doesn't. We have to make the resolution here. Would anyone wish to speak to this? Anyone wish to recommend that we propose it?
Just ask a question, which budget this grant would come out of? Does it come out of the Glastonbury and Bloom budget or the more general grants budget?
That is a very good question. Do you know, Connor?
I do. That would come out of the Glastonbury and Bloom budget, Councillor Lockerman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I presume this is the grant application that Lady spoke.
So thank you. So would anybody, Councillor, yes.
I'll propose it.
Thank you very much. Anybody will second this? Thank you, Councillor White. Anyone wish to speak against? All those in favour? That looks unanimous.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Just speak, Your Worship, sorry, before we go on to the next set of advisory committee recommendations. There was in the minutes of Glastonbury and Bloom, but it was missed off of this report, that there was a recommendation that in the future Glastonbury and Bloom becomes a delegated committee. Now, it makes sense to me that the May meeting would be the time when you're appointing all of your standing and advisory committees. That would be the time to change it over. So I can bring it to the May meeting, a version of Glastonbury and Bloom as an advisory committee and a version as a delegated committee, and as a council you can decide which one you like.
Councillor?
One slight concern, a delegated committee is only councillors, and the advantage of Glastonbury and Bloom being an advisory one is that the non-councillors can participate, and I know that quite a few of the long-standing members of Glastonbury and Bloom are non-councillors, so I think that should be considered quite carefully.
That's a very good point. I would suggest that in Bloom is very good for tourism. Would anybody wish to counter that suggestion? Luckily, under the legislation, any advisory committee that is related to tourism can be a delegated committee. Wonderful piece of legislation. Can't remember which act, but I do remember reading it. So that would counter that. I wonder whether the clerk could find chapter and verse on this.
Yes, I believe, Your Worship, it's the Local Government Act 1972, but in preparation for the May meeting, I will provide the legislation that allows a delegated committee on tourism to include voting members of the public.
Thank you very much. With that in mind, that will come to the May meeting.
Yes, Your Worship, the annual meeting of the council.
Thank you. Arts, Culture and Events Advisory Committee, 2 recommendations. Full Council proposed to donate £250 to the Royal British Legion, British Legion, in place of a formal poppy concert. This was the recommendation. It was felt that this might actually raise more money, and the vicar has said that he's going to offer concert space or space for performance for the brass band for the poppy concert at the church. So we felt that rather than hosting it here, which would lose 2 nights of potential income, that we would propose that we give them £250 and then they can negotiate it with the vicar. So I don't know whether anybody wishes to speak against that. Anybody wish to speak for it or propose it?
Propose it. That's a.
Sorry.
We agree with that recommendation.
May I just clarify it, Your Worship? On the report, the wording is the Glastonbury British Legion. However, the recommendation from the committee was actually to make that as a direct donation nationally to the Royal British Legion, not the Glastonbury branch.
Thank you. That is because the Glastonbury branch isn't registered with the Royal British Legion. Okay. You would like to propose that, Councillor Henderson?
Yes, a quick question. So the fact that the Glastonbury British Legion isn't affiliated to the Royal British Legion, does that mean that any donations that Glastonbury receives purely goes to Glastonbury veterans? Or how does Glastonbury British Legion operate differently to the Royal British Legion?
I don't know,
Sorry,
Councillor. What I do know is that I spoke with the Bridgewater branch of the British Legion, and Glastonbury is not a registered branch.
Well, I'm quite happy to recommend we pay the 250.
Thank you.
To the Royal British Legion.
Royal British Legion. Second that. Anyone wish to second that? Oh, Councillor Napper?
I think we ought to pursue that with Mike Free, because it would make sense if that £250 was involved with Glastonbury rather than the national thing. But I will bring it up with Mike Free.
Thank you. It would be useful for the council to know the basis of the British Legion in Glastonbury.
Absolutely, yeah. Because we spent an awful lot of money on the flag and the emblems and whatever, I'm surprised that we're not registered with them.
We've got a proposer. Did we have a second? Councillor White?
Yes, I will second.
Anybody wish to speak against that? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Anybody against? Please raise your hand. Any abstentions? 4 abstentions. Thank you very much. The second one is to recommend to full council that Glastonbury radio system, and that I mean by that the walkie-talkie system, be used at the Beltane May Day event. It would have been very useful last year for the stewards of the event to be able to liaise with themselves and with the Carnival Committee people using our walkie-talkie system, and that's why the proposal has come forward. Would anybody wish to speak to that?
I would propose it, and I agree. I was one of the stewards as well, and we could have done with some communication.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder?
I'm a seconder.
May I just clarify, sorry, Your Worship, before a vote's taken? Again, the wording in this report says that I recommended that to full council. I'm not in a position to make recommendations. It was the committee. So I should have checked it and removed it, but again, that's not a set of minutes that I wrote, and this isn't a report I compiled. It's not a recommendation from me, it's a recommendation from the committee. Just wanted to clarify that.
Good point of clarity. I had two members wishing to second.
I don't mind. As a steward from last year, I say that this would be incredibly helpful, because I know that particularly when we were doing the Chilkwell Street bit, there was a lot of running to and fro. There was a policeman at one end and a policeman at the other, and walkie-talkies would have been really useful. And particularly, again, for the person at the top of the high street, when a lot of the crowd actually stopped at that point and needed to be moved on, it would have been really good to have had walkie-talkies.
Thank you. So I will have you, Councillor Ronnie Dougal, as a seconder then. And we do actually own the radio system, do we?
Yes, and we have a number more than we had last year because we bought more for Frost Fair this year. We bought them, so we own them, Your Worship. Can I just, clarify who proposed it? I had Councillor Councillor White, that's fine, thank you.
Anybody wish to speak against this? All those in favour, please raise their hands. Anyone against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Thank you. The Climate and Ecological Emergency Advisory Committee, I look to the chair.
Well, Indra was unable, as the chair, and she was unable to be present because she was at the police meeting. So once again, I will take over, Indra. There were 3 things that I wanted that we asked to come through. One was a proposal for a climate and ecological emergency Facebook page, because there's an awareness that a lot of information is not getting spread out wide enough People don't tend to go to the Town Council website. People are picking up the newsletters from Susanna Stall at Market, but that's only people who go to Market. And the Facebook page would actually be, we've got a lot of good information that would be good to spread out wider across the community. And that was proposed by Laura Wolfers and seconded by Gareth Lowe. And I was wondering if, I'm not too sure, Connor, who there is in the office who could set up a Facebook page, but is that possible for that to be set up?
Connor, I notice your note.
Yes, it's certainly possible to set one up, Councillor Only Dougal. Did the SEAC Advisory Committee consider who would actually be doing the posting of that content, whether it's members of the committee or whether it would be expected that officers post?
I would have thought members of the committee.
Right, that's fine. The only note I included was that if it's a Facebook page, obviously it will be affiliated to the Town Council because it's from an advisory committee. There would need to be some form of oversight and ability to check and monitor what goes out and the interactions from the page. That's quite easy in just making an officer and administrator on the page as well. I'm happy to be that person, but in terms of the proposal, just from the governance side of it, if that could be part of the proposal, then there's certainly no problem. A Facebook page can be set up and they are quite successful.
That sounds absolutely perfect. Yes, we hadn't gone into that level of detail. It's great that you raise it. Yeah.
Councillor Smythe.
Just a question on that. Obviously, the council would have to have an oversight. Wouldn't it be easier if the officer oversaw it to post it onto the Facebook page rather than backwards and forwards? The other thing I was going to make a comment on is, could it include the question to the recipients of the Facebook messages, what are you doing to counteract the climate emergency, and can we celebrate that? So it's like a two-way thing. Otherwise, it seems like we're sort of preaching a gospel rather than receiving messages as well. So it could be a two-way thing.
As far as I know, most Facebook pages do very much have a to and fro. The idea of this was for information to go out rather than preaching gospel. But yes, I mean, definitely. From what I know of Facebook pages, a lot of discussion goes on in them.
Very much in favour of that.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm hearing then that the clerk is comfortable with this, so long as perhaps the clerk himself is an administrator on the page. Is that correct?
Yes, I've only raised that, Your Worship, because obviously I don't want to say that another member of staff will do it, and then because the way that Facebook is set up, you have to use your own account to administer it. Now, I've got no problem doing that, but there might be another member of staff who's not as happy doing that. In terms of the actual posting, there's no problem giving members of the committee permission to post. It's more the ability for the council to go, oh, that's incorrect, or oh, that's inappropriate, and be able to take something down or stop commenting or something along those lines, which is something that as an administrator I could do. I could just keep oversight of it, but more than happy for members of the committee to be made probably editors rather than administrators and be able to post the content, because I will say that unfortunately, because we have a lot of work on and we are not overstaffed, sometimes if we are putting out communication messages through the office, it can be a bottleneck sometimes because there is just so much going on. So I would actually encourage the advisory committee members who are very active to be able to post what they want within their remit themselves.
Thank you, Councillor Smythe.
Again, thank you. Just to err on the side of caution, what we in Glastonbury always like to do, I would suggest that it's best that Melissa or an officer actually gives it once over before it's posted.
Well, that's what Connor is suggesting.
Yeah. I feel that if there is scrutiny by the clerk in an administration role, that would suffice.
Yes, that's sufficient. I think that's giving it the one over. Yeah.
So I would be happy to propose this if someone was happy to second it.
Seconded.
Is there anybody wish to speak against it? All those in favour? Any abstentions? One abstention. Anyone voting against it? Thank you very much.
So the second item is point of information. The £2 bus fares have been extended to June for anybody who wants to use buses. Only £2 all the way to Bristol. £2 back again, cheaper than the car. The task and finish group we've already mentioned. And Scarlett has arranged a date of Thursday, the 20th of April, for the first meeting for that. And Lilith Osborne suggested that we discuss maybe John giving a letter to Somerton Town Council about exploring opening Somerton railway station, because there's a great need for Glastonbury to be a bus destination, to have links with railway stations. There is a suggestion that Somerton are exploring opening the railway station, and so Councillor Osborne suggested that maybe we write a letter to Somerton. Lilith, would you like to speak to this?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, we'll be one constituency very shortly. So we could actually be in the fortuitous position of having a railway station in our constituency, which would link very closely to Glastonbury, and a bus shuttle come back and forth. It wouldn't be too difficult to reopen the railway there, because there are tracks and there are trains. There just isn't a station. So it wouldn't be too difficult to build, even if it was one that didn't actually have any people, just electric barriers like they do in London, and little cards that you can, phones. It wouldn't take any people, and it would just be a little station that we could come and go on.
Great idea.
Thank you. So I've got Councillor Napper and then Councillor Cochran and then
Thank you,
Councillor
Worship.
Manning.
I believe that this has now been withdrawn officially. The funding has been withdrawn as well. There was funding for it, but that's all been withdrawn.
Thank you, Councillor Cochran.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, Councillor Napper. The last I heard reasonably recently that it was still in favour, basically, between Langport and Somerton.
That's where it was, yeah.
Yeah. So where can you explain to me where you found this information? Because I want to feed it back to somebody else.
I read it somewhere that all the funding and whatever has been withdrawn.
Okay, I hadn't heard that, and I've heard contrary actually.
Thank you. Was that your point, Councillor Cochran?
Yeah.
Councillor Manning.
Yeah, Your Worship. There's an organisation called Langport Transport Group which were driving this and working very closely with South Somerset District Council and the MP David Warburton, who there at the moment. So I do wonder whether Somerton Town Council are the right people to contact. It might be better to contact this Langport Transport Group, which is basically Somerton and Langport combined that are covering this. But my understanding is, like Councillor Cotton, that it is still live.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. Paul's suggestion is really good. I was just going to say that writing a letter is one way to find out definitively whether this is funded or not. So I think we should definitely agree to support the writing of a letter.
And I'm assuming that I would write on behalf of the council in the mayoral capacity. So is there anyone wishing to propose this? Councillor Henderson?
Oh, well, I think Lilith should.
Councillor,
yeah.
Lilith, and who's seconding?
Lilith and me seconding.
Okay, let's do that. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? All those in favour?
Yay.
Anyone against? Any abstentions?
Okay, so there was a third point, and in fact this is one for Indra to take up. There was a suggestion that the Town Council write a letter opposing the expansion of West End Quarry.
Is this possibly sorry, thank you. Do you want me to explain a bit?
Please do, because you were unable to be present, and it was noted at the meeting that this had actually been put on the agenda by you, and then you weren't able to be present. So
okay, that's fine. It's actually off the regulatory committee now at Somerset County Council, so there's possibly not a push. Maybe at another time, maybe I'll do a little 2 minutes, if that's okay, maybe at the next meeting, as to how this affects us here in Glastonbury and how it affects the wider, I'd like to prepare this better rather than plunge people into something that, we're prepared for. Thank you, though.
Councillor, as there will be an action arising from it, it may be worth putting forward as a motion with a seconder so that we can debate and resolve. Thank you. I would look to you adding that to the agenda with the clerk. Thank you. I think that finishes the that's part of the agenda. Thank you very much. And consider a policy for mayor's events from May 2023. So at the moment, whether or not this is a formalised policy, I've never understood. But at the moment, the mayor has always, ever since I've been on the council, and I think for many years before that, older members of the council may wish to jump in and explain, but that the mayor has 3 opportunities to use the town hall to support the mayor's charity with some fundraising event or other. This has fallen into a bit of a doldrum because of COVID, etc. And I am putting one event on this year to try and raise some money for my charity, which is the Glastonbury People's Trust, who haven't done particularly well out of being my mayor's charity because of COVID, etc. I haven't been able to raise a lot of money for them, but I have raised some. Councillor Cottle.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. When I was mayor, which was an ancient time ago, long time ago, you were entitled to free, the mayor was entitled to free, but it wasn't necessarily for his charity. He could give them, or she could give them, to anybody they wished.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so you're not restricted. Okay.
So that is the current policy, I understand. So there is a paper to this. I've just noticed. It's been customary practice every year. 3 events to raise money for the charity, which may or may not be quite right. As part of the wider work to make this a smaller burden on the council's budget, therefore, officers have considered that 3 events presents too much of a financial and officer time burden. The mayor is entitled to a discretionary allowance of £2,000 per annum in the town council's budget. This is generally to cover the cost of performing civic functions of mayor and is not a salary or honorarium. The band and road closure for Mayor Sunday consists of the region of £1,000 per annum, and this does not include costs such as staff and catering time. It's estimated that by experienced staff it takes 2 to 3 weeks of officer time to organise Mayor Sunday, estimated to cost in the region of £1,000 to £1,500, including on costs. Mayor Sunday in total costs the region of £3,000. 3 mayor's events per annum vary in cost depending on the day of the week, of the time, etc. in the events. An event in a town hall would cost, in terms of lack of paid booking, £60 per hour, £40, etc. It's not factor administration time for organising events. Mayor's events in April's estimated cost potential lost income of staff time of £2,000. When the mayor's allowance and Mayor Sunday potentially 3 events around £2,000 each, that's £10,000 in total expense for the precept payer. In previous years, experienced staff have not known the amount of money raised for the charities, but it's considered that 3 mayor's events per annum presents value for the precept payer. Sorry, in the amount donated to the charity. Sorry, that doesn't. Sorry. So, sitting mayors of Glastonbury entitled to Mayor's Sunday and 1 other 8-hour event in the town hall per term to raise money for their nominated charity. This is a recommendation, and that the council handles the money raised by the mayor's events and writes a cheque to the nominated charity. So that's the recommendation around this. I feel that this is probably a good way to go with this. I am hoping that the mayor's event in April will raise some money. I was hoping maybe over £1,000, which might mean that it was worthwhile, but we will see how that goes. So, councillors, what do you feel about this? I wonder whether any other previous mayors... Oh, I'm the only one. I haven't ever noticed that. So what do you think about this, Nick?
Right. If I'm honest, I I suppose we're moving with the times. Remembering back, because it was 2004, 2005 when I was mayor, I used mine up with different charities. I let different people use them. But we're in a different world now, and a different ball game, I suppose. And really, that's bringing it down to one, isn't it? Because the Mayor's Sunday is a normal thing anyway. So you're going to get one freebie, and for your charity that you select, or whoever selects. So you're going to have to be really on the ball for it. It might seem a bit stingy, but really, we've got to make this place pay, you know. So maybe it's if that's who's the recommendation? Yourself, Connor? Yeah. Okay.
Bean counter in the corner.
Yeah, well, that's it. There's always a bean counter, and that's fine. So yeah, I'll go with it, even if do you think it's, you know.
So I know that Connor wishes to speak, and then Councillor Henderson, Councillor Manning.
Sorry, if I could just give a little bit of colour and flavour to it, Your Worship. So obviously, everyone around the table will know we've gone through a very difficult budget setting process for next year, and we've really had to look at what we spend, what we get in, what costs us money, and what makes us money. So it hasn't come from the Town Hall Revenue Subcommittee, but out of the work looking at how much the precept payer has to subsidise this building by virtue of how much it costs to run and maintain, and the work being done by the Town Hall Revenue Subcommittee to close that gap, I also did a little bit of analysis and worked with much more experienced staff than myself to understand the cost implications of these events. Now, the Town Hall is a very popular venue on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a Saturday. It's not very popular on a Friday. We do get the occasional booking on a Friday, and the costs are just so much on a Sunday that we haven't tended to be able to hire it out on a Sunday. However, the costs are just in big handfuls in the report, but when I looked at it and considered potentially how much money was raised for Mayor's charities, it did present, I felt, considering the budget setting process we've gone through and the work of the Town Hall Revenue Subcommittee, that 3 free events presented, in terms of the opportunity cost of lost income, quite a lot of money, but also we have to pay staff to be here for our insurance during the events, and some of them going to quite late in the evening, and I believe some mayors even classed one of their free events as a whole weekend, and also officer time to organise it. So quite a lot of those costs, lack of income, officer time in the offices to organise quite a few of these events in a lot of cases. I know, John, you're doing a lot of the organising for yours. It hasn't always been the case in the past. And having to pay caretakers to be here of an evening and on different days and at different times, their contracts allow them different percentage multipliers. They're all sort of hidden costs because, well, the town hall here is as a building, we employ people anyway, but when you actually attribute costs to things that happen, because you pay me to be boring and to be a bean counter, I didn't consider 3 free events to present good value for money. But I tried to recognise the tradition of Mayor's Sunday and the fact that the Mayor should be able to have an event to raise money for their charity. So that's why I've brought these recommendations to you. And the reason I've tried to bring them to this meeting in March is in recognition that whoever is the Mayor next year, I didn't want them sitting down in May thinking, great, I've got 3 events, what can I do next year or this year? And then all of a sudden me going, oh, by the way, I only want you to have 1. So that's why I brought it to this meeting for members to consider. But of course, if you wish to continue with the custom and tradition of 3 free events or any variation of the sort, that's for you guys to make a decision.
Councillor, well, actually, Councillor, I've got Henderson, Manning, Don Francesco, and then Councillor Cook.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion. I think obviously Mayor's Sunday, we want to keep that, and if one other free event kind of focuses the mind on making that a special event, as Nick said, when you had 3, you could give them away or whatever. It seems to me that people would think, we've got 3, what am I going to do with it? Well, you can have 1, and you know, I think 1 is a good idea, and so I would definitely go with Connor's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Manning.
Yeah, I think obviously the way it was up to now, it's a bit perhaps not quite the way we'd want it done in the future. I do like Councillor Cottle's idea of with multiple charities, like for instance, and rather than having them as free events costing £2,000, you could actually almost like give a gift to a certain charity of the use of the town hall for one evening at whatever, 3 hours at 60 quid or whatever, and let them do the organising of the event for themselves to raise the money. That would cost the council less, but it would still achieve a lot for the community.
Thank you. Councillor Don Francesco.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to say pretty much the same actually as Councillor Manning. Yeah, I do agree with it coming down. Possibly, so you mentioned, Connor, about Fridays or days, because I was going to ask what days are not taken up and not very popular, and even during the days. And there maybe be like a discretionary, you know, afternoon or evening when it's not going to be booked up for the charities to take over and do their event. I mean, as I say, yeah, during the day, you know, say if it is a community or council thing and run by them. I had no idea that most of these things are actually taken up with staff time.
So in terms of the wording of the recommendation that I've made, so I think it's loose enough that if a mayor wanted to do it that way, where they wanted to gift their free 8 hours, whether that be a day or an afternoon and an evening, for a charity to organise an event themselves to raise money instead of the office staff organising it and the mayor organising it, then that would be within that year's mayor's gift. The recommendation is that there is one, for want of a better expression, freebie. There is one event that the mayor can organise and room costs will not be taken into consideration. It will just be booked, and Mayor's Sunday. So I think if the mayor of the year wanted to do it that way, that's within their gift. If they wanted to organise an event and then write a big presentation check to the charity, we have a nice photo op, that's also within that year's mayor's gift. Essentially, the premise is that there would be one mayor's event as well as Mayor's Sunday.
Thank you. So I now have Councillor Cook and then Ronnie Dougal.
Yeah, tricky that maybe we've had a flurry of wealthy councillors go through this place. I know that. And I'm looking at one right now who doesn't want to be mayor. But why can't a mayor pay for his event? He can have as many as he likes on that basis, surely. I'm talking about this on the basis of having been in several golf clubs, and I know how much it costs to be a golf captain. All right, how much it costs you. You know, you have to spend at least, well, depending on what the golf course is. I mean, you know, you're looking at £5,000 to £20,000 a year you're going to pay to be captain for the golf course. So I don't see why, when we've got wealthy people like Nick's at the table and everybody,
I wish.
Not to limit the amount of days that a mayor can have if they want to pay for it.
Only rich people.
It will all be local. It'll be local people that are going to get involved, or people coming down from wherever, and it's part of the town hall revenue kind of process of actually putting money back into the place rather than taking it out. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So, sorry, just in terms of that, Councillor Kirk, if a mayor wanted to make a booking like any other member of the public or organisation and pay for it, yes, of course, that was absolutely fine, and they would pay the going rate for the type of event that they wanted. There is in the budget the £2,000 for, which is the mayor's allowance, which, as I stated in the report, is an allowance to perform the civic function of mayor. If a mayor wanted to use some of that allowance to book space in the town hall in addition to their one freebie, then that is within their gift. Yes, for us, it would just be moving money from one line to another, but that would be within, because that is sort of their expenses for being mayor. If they wanted some of that to be room hire for another event, or to pay as essentially a member of the public would, or an organisation, then yes, that's not off the cards at all. But the custom and practice has been that there have been 3 free events. I don't think it's written anywhere, it's just been custom and tradition. And I just wanted to bring to the council a consideration that that's reduced in light of how much it could potentially cost and the difficult budget setting process we've had to go through. And the fact, as you mentioned, as chair of the Town Hall Revenue Subcommittee, we're trying to make this place lose less money.
Thank you. Before we move forward, I'd just like to say that the mayor's allowance for 22-23 was put into the Jubilee budget. and then the mayor's allowance for the year before that was split between two charities, the Food Bank and Glastonbury People's Trust, because I couldn't really raise any money because of the lockdown and stuff like that. So some mayors don't need the allowance as much as other mayors do, but I'm fortunate enough to have a job and earn a living. But the mayor's allowance was put in place so that no one would be sort of disadvantaged should they not be in a fortunate position to be earning or have a good income. So I think that the mayor's allowance is a worthwhile thing to have, and each mayor would need to decide how they wish to deal with it. My thought is that the reason why there were three goes back a long time. It was happening before you were, and it's something that is probably in the past been seen as the perk of being the mayor. So I've got Councillor Ronnie Dougal, Councillor Ronnie Dougal, Councillor Hart, Councillor Cook again, and then Connor.
Okay, so I don't know, my memory's failing me these days, but I have a memory that you allowed one of your events to be used for the memorial for Denny because her funeral happened during lockdown. And so it was after lockdown that we were able to celebrate her life. And that was organised by her family, but we gave the town hall for free to them, did we not?
Yeah.
And was that not one of your events?
Yes, I've had three.
What I wanted to say is that that sort of thing is actually quite important for the town,
Right.
that we celebrate somebody who has given of their time and energy for the benefit of the town. And in that particular instance, because of lockdown, it became one of your events in the year after. And I would be sad to lose that possibility, let's put it that way. You know, yes, for there to be the Mayor Sunday, yes, for you to have a charity day to raise money for charity, or rather the Mayor to have a charity day, but also just that there is that possibility that we can honour or whatever the event might be by giving the town hall for free. I'd just like to raise that consideration.
So yes, it's been an interesting time. Over the last 3 years, I have had three events. One was the memorial for Denny, one was a fundraiser, and then there's the one coming up in April, which will be a fundraiser. In addition, I've only done one Mayor's Sunday because it seemed to be a complete waste of money having lots of Mayor's Sundays for the same mayor. So I've only had one Mayor's Sunday within that time, and I was reluctant to do that, but it was decided it was worthwhile. So it's a very interesting thing, this. I think the fact that it's been an unusual period of time is the reason why this has come up. So I've got Councillor Hart, and then Councillor Cook, and then Connor.
I think, talking about something like Denny's memorial, surely if there were an instance like that, that's something that could just be brought to the table and discussed. You don't necessarily need it written in stone. You've got 3 days. And ultimately, I mean, I've done fundraising. And I know it's really hard to predict what you'll make as a charity event. But I mean, ultimately, for being counter-clear, we have all in these times got to be very wary of the bottom line. So I guess there's no sense in spending, I don't know, because I don't know the figures, but spending 20 quid to give someone 10, or just give them 10 and save 10. So, I don't know what the staffing cost element. So obviously you can take, like you said, the organisational part out of the picture, but how much then does the staffing still cost? And I suppose it's just got to be looked at on a case by case. Are we going to make more than we're going to spend? Otherwise, let's just not waste our time and give money to the charity.
Yes.
That seems like a simple way of looking at it, really.
Thank you. I think, and that is very much the conversation was had around the Royal British Legion. So I see Councillor Cook again.
Yeah, sorry again, I forgot the ingredient. Obviously, if you're going to have a Mayor's Day, you're going to pay for it. You're going to want to pay for it, so you sell tickets. You put an event on and sell tickets and get it paid that way, and then you can give the money over to the charity, whatever it is. If there is any left, if there isn't, well, that's how it works.
That's very much how I'm approaching the event I'm doing in April. Connor, sorry.
Oh, sorry, thank you, Your Worship. No, I just wanted to mention that in terms of a chairman's allowance or mayor's allowance, that is actually set down in legislation that councils can have that, and it is expenses of the role, and it's so that no one is disadvantaged or discouraged from being the chair, or in our case, a mayor. So it's not just something that Glastonbury Town Council does, actually. If you look at the accounts of pretty much any parish or town council, they have a chairman's allowance. The actual amount is up to the discretion of the council. In terms of the ceremony for Denise Michelle, absolutely, things like that are at the complete discretion of the town council. If you made a resolution that there will be a free event, then that free event happens. You do have that flexibility. And also, if it were something that were time sensitive that couldn't come to a full council meeting, the town hall manager does have complete discretion over what's charged and what's not. So if members came to us and said, look, we really want this to happen, we don't want it, and within reason, then absolutely something like that can be facilitated. So changing to this policy wouldn't eliminate something along those lines. And in terms of, I just wanted to say that that sort of ideology of donating, not only so the charity gets the money that they wanted, but also the organisation saving the money, is exactly what you've just agreed to in terms of the Poppy concert for the Royal British Legion. But of course, the mayor does work very hard during a year, so it probably is quite nice that there is an actual event that they can organise and sell tickets to in order to raise that money for charity, rather than just every year plainly writing a cheque. But of course, if there were a mayor in a year that didn't want to organise it and did just want to write a cheque, that again would be within their gift.
Thank you. Councillor Hart and then Councillor Luckman.
Quickly, and it might be a big ask, but when the mayor says, I'm going to run this event on my free day and it's for this charity, is it beyond the realms of possibility that we ask the staff whether they're able to give their time to the charity in the way that other people put their hand in their pocket and give money to the charity? They don't have to say yes, but it's something that you could consider so that he can have his day and his raising money for a charity without it incurring a cost to the council, because time is also money. So,
That's a very interesting point, Councillor. So I've got Councillor Lokabandu.
So I'm very much in favour of the Town Hall washing its face, as Ian Tucker likes to say. What we're essentially proposing is to free up 2 days in the calendar. I just appreciate confirmation that there will be bookings by, paying parties that will fill the 2 days in the calendar. And I also wonder whether the money is in a sense being leaked in other ways. Are we giving away other freebies, which we can also look at?
Thank you. So, Councillors, we've got some recommendations before us in relation to this, and I think that it is timely that we look at it. The COVID situation has presented us with an opportunity. So I would like to take, do we take these as 2 recommendations as one, or do we want to do them individually, Councillors? How do you feel?
I think put the 2 as one.
Do we have any objections on the second? We haven't really talked about it.
Well,
what the recommendations are.
Well, it is the sitting mayors are entitled to Mayor's Sunday and one other 8-hour event in the Town Hall per the term to raise money for the Mayor's nominated charity, and that the Town Council handles the money raised by the Mayor's event and writes the cheque to the nominated charity. Yes.
I'd like to propose those 2 go as one, and I would like to propose it.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the proposal? All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Thank you very much, Councillors.
Confused, that's why.
Thank you. So we now move to receive County Council reports. How wonderful it is to have both County Councillors here. Would we like to go ladies first?
Oh, sorry, after today's exciting evening, this is going to feel very soothing. You need to hear my voice any more loudly than I do it all by myself. In fact, I think I've demonstrated my vocal skills quite well this evening and my crowd control.
People can hear you on the editing hammer.
Okay. So, let me just find where I've written all this down. So sadly, still to report, our projected overspend as a county council, still standing at 24.3. And, you know, I wish I could say something different, but that is there. So we brought Somerset County Council's last full council meeting saw members from all parties voting to support a motion signing up the new elected to the Local Government Association Debate Not Hate campaign, which is all about people experiencing abuse, mostly online, and just looking to tackle that. We've got independent living centres, Somerset independent living centres, and there's one in Shepton Mallet. And I mean, there are two. So one's in Wellington, but probably the one that would be useful to us is Shepton Mallet, and it has a lot of technology and other equipment in there to help people live at home who are struggling to live independently. So there's a phone number that I can give to Connor and an email address for people that want to access that. Sadly, domestic abuse is taking an increasing number of calls, and it seems to be mostly affecting youngsters, so people between the ages of 16 and 20, who we now have a 3-time increase. So proportionally, young people are experiencing higher rates of domestic abuse. And there's, again, a website that I can give to Connor to try and help people with support for that. The council are looking for people who are willing to advocate for young people and help to try and transform their lives. So again, I can pass the email for that. And finally, we've got Somerset Step Up to Social Work, which is a programme offering the opportunity for people to train for a career in social work, and in return they get a tax-free bursary of £20,000, at least for a postgrad diploma. So, I mean, hopefully there might be people locally that might be interested in that. And I'm afraid that's all I have to offer you.
Thank you very much.
I'll hand over to Nick. I don't know if he's got anything to add.
Oh, I probably. Yeah, I've got to stand up, haven't I? Yeah, I think you've already had my my major one for this month. Yeah, that should have come through. I was a bit late sending it to you, I think, Connor. About, I don't know, how many pages, but you've had it, so that's the main thing. But there's a couple of things that Suze didn't mention. One is the different committees that we've both been put on. Yes, you've got a few, so I'll let you say that. Well, yeah, it's true. I've got, I'm on the AOMB at Mendip Hills. I'm on the Drainage Board. I'm on the another nature one. And I'm on one I told you the other day, John.
Yes.
Village halls, voluntary village halls and community halls. I'm doing that one as well, plus a few others. But the biggie for me is I've been put as the chairman of the Somerset Planning East, which is quite a... Yeah, and that's going to be a bit of a challenge. It's already a challenge now, and I haven't even started. And so there we go. But I've got to say, thank you to Susie for talking to her group on one particular.
Well, I've got them in line.
You got them in line. You've done well for me there. Thank you. So we're moving the starting time of the meetings to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're going to go through from there. That was a decision that was made jointly with the officers because, and this is the major reason, there is going to be an increased workload as well because of all of the new procedures and things that have been put in place compared to what we have now at the planning board. And I would imagine you've all been, and it hasn't been sent round now, has it, Connor? Oh, all of you had nothing.
I was off yesterday, and I think you did send me something, but I made an action to check it.
Yeah, I did send you a rather large lot of stuff yesterday to put out. But what I'm thinking is on the planning, that's going to affect the town. Okay, so it's definitely worth checking on that to see how you go forward with your, to get it to the committee. Okay, there are going to be some differences to that, so that'll be worth looking at. So yeah, planning's a big one. But Susie's going to be on it as well. So
all of us having
training.
All who've done it before.
Yeah, lots of training, lots and lots of training for this, and so that's the important one. And as we all know, that is non-political, and Terry knows that. He's sat on planning before. There's no politics involved in planning. It's complete, or sure there shouldn't be, and no thing. So that's an important one to be doing that. That's probably why they chose me, because I'm such a apolitical person. Right, no, but seriously, yeah, that one. So I think that's quite important. But I think moving forward, I was going to bring some stuff down with me this evening for you to see the aims of the new council and how it intends to go. But what I'll do, I'll get the copies and I'll let them come here so everybody can have a copy to see what the what the future holds. Hopefully, it's going to be a hard job. There's no getting away from it. To make this huge council work, when we're all in a room together, it's very difficult to make yourself heard. Although you did do well the other day. You were there. You had something to say, yeah. But it's very big and very unmanageable in my opinion. But there again, it's there. We're doing it. We've got to get on with it and pragmatic. And it starts soon, 1st of April.
1st of April.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. April Fool's Day, exactly. Yeah, I do mention, and wherever I write anything about it, I say, who chose this day? Never mind. There we are. So I'm sure you'll be getting lots more information from me and from Susie here in the new year, in the new council. Now, when everything's settled down. Thanks, Steve. Yep.
Yeah, too large and unmanageable. That was two of the reasons I voted against it. But anyway, that's by the by. Planning wise, obviously we're going to lose a fair bit of local control, but are the ward members still going to be consulted, and will the town councils still be involved?
You're actually going to get more.
Well, that's nice to know.
Okay, or it'll be simpler. Okay, that's what the planning officers have told me. I don't sit on the Constitution. Who designed it? Did you go to the Constitution one, Julie?
Well, anyway, as much information as possible would be welcome, because at one point we were going to keep control of.
Yeah, I think
information would be good.
It'll come through, but it's yeah, I know that they're expecting it to take a lot longer than what it does now. Okay.
Well, I should see. And the other thing was, I did send you an email about the state of the road in Feversham Lane, Sedgemoor Way.
If that came via my mended one, it won't work.
Sorry, Susie, I didn't have your
email
address, but I was just going to say there must be a massive amount of work going towards the upkeep of the roads, because they're in a hell of a state.
Yeah.
That was just one example that I
No. I've got loads.
What's going on with that?
I can assure you that Mike Rigby is coming here to look, and I'm taking him round to every single piece.
Okay.
And also including, get this, a farmer who has the runoff from a road. The runoff of the road, which was designed to just go into his field.
All right.
And now it floods, and it floods his cattle shed. So he's not a happy bunny. Sure. And so I've got to take Mike and see that as well. So yeah, it's in hand. Don't worry.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for the county councillors? So I'm sure that this council would join me in wishing the new Unitary Authority councillors here all the best of luck in their new endeavour from April the 1st. It's going to be quite an extraordinary journey, I'm sure, and I'm sure that Glastonbury Town Council will stand behind our two county councillors in any way that we can.
Yeah.
as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, and now, extraordinarily, this is the final district councillors' reports that we'll receive from Mendip district councillors on this council. Ladies first.
And I'm going to make the most of it this time. There was, before I start, there's weeding on Chilkwell Street. I'll just flag that up. I've been talking to Hayley there, and hopefully it's happening. In the final full council, we had a report back on our achievements as a council for our climate emissions reduction, trying to achieve net zero. So I'm going to just highlight that a little bit. By the way, the council plan, you can Google it and find it. I did have a little look, so you want to see what it is. It has got a nice little list of action aims. So we've got 43 EV chargers in the car parks, which are not yet working. I think it's something to do with the electricity supply, is it?
Yeah.
But they're there. There's a figure, 11,000 trees will be planted by the end of this planting season, which must be something to celebrate. There's been progress with retrofitting, but as I understand it, they're pilots mostly, or just small groups of individuals who are receiving it. But this is going to be rolled out with more funding for bulk buy, and I'm sure Nick could explain more, but as I understand it, that's what. Then there's more detail in the full council report on net zero, which was in February. We've got a Strawberry Line cycle path that's just been opened in Shepton, which Ros White, our leader, is very proud of. That's her pet project. And we've got improvement in recycling from 56% to whatever the figure is, 4% more than that. We've got tree wardens. I don't know if tree wardens apply to here. Anybody a tree warden here? Anyway, I thought I'd just highlight that because somebody might like to be a tree warden. So that's happening. Somerset Wildlife Trust have bought a new nature reserve, Honegar Nature Reserve, which I've been to see, in order to preserve the peatlands on the level. We need more money to achieve net zero, and Mendip District Council are lobbying with an organisation called UK 100, which was mentioned, but this is a positive thing. I could make a comment about what was going on there, but perhaps this isn't the right moment. Number one, how many of those people have got mobile phones? Think about it. Yes, so we need more funding from central government because councils only have just about enough money for their statutory duties. So how can we actually do anything major on net zero? And the Mendip District Council's aim to achieve 30% emissions has been a huge challenge for that reason. Anyway, I thought I'd give a little rundown. There's lots more on the website, more detail if you want to know. Yeah.
Thank you. A question for the councillor?
Question, a clarification. I may have misheard, not what you said, but what was said earlier when the other people were speaking, that you spoke to UK 100. Did they not say that Mendip were not members?
So, UK 100 are a organisation that is attempting to mitigate the impacts of climate emergency, ecological emergency, and one of the big things that they're for is reducing the impact on air of, cars, emissions, etc. What they are not is a group that is promoting 15-minute cities, and they've not signed up to 15-minute cities. They have no list of councils who have signed up to 15-minute cities with them. I know that because I have an email from the CEO of UK 100. The list that resulted was part of the reason why the group of people were here today is completely made up. Somebody has sat in their home, made up a list, stuck the UK 100 logo on it, and used that list to whip up a thing going on. That list has Mendip District Council written on it quite high. It doesn't look alphabetical. It looks like they wanted people to see Mendip District Council pretty soon on. So who knows who wrote that list and why they did it. Mendip District Council, on the other hand, are part, you know, one of the, I think that they are supportive of some of the things that UK 100 are about. The sad reality, of course, is that Mendip District Council were nowhere ever going to get near to being net zero carbon, as indeed I think we must all face that possibility. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. As Lindsay said, we had the last ever meeting of Mendip District Council a couple of weeks ago. There's some eloquent speeches, I thought, by the leaders of all parties. Yeah. And I quite enjoyed the sort of summing up of what Mendip had done over the past 40 years, whatever it is, 50 years. The evening was tinged with a bit of bitterness when I've never understood the abstentions en masse of both the main parties up there, and I thought having that on the final evening when they, you know, I think Lib Dems abstained en masse at one thing and the Tories did the same on another thing. I just thought, well, you know, that kind of sums up how it's been for the past few years. Anyway, other than that, it was a momentous occasion, I guess. We were all meeting up on the 24th, councillors past and present, to sort of exchange stories, etc. I'm sure that'll be a marvellous event. We've got a planning meeting tomorrow evening, and then we may have another planning meeting shoehorned in on the 29th, I believe, and then that'll be it done and dusted. So yeah, end of an era.
Thank you. Well done, Steve. So I will go next. I attended the last meeting of Mendip District Council. Never been a big fan of Mendip District Council, to be honest with you. So I don't know whether I'm particularly sorry to see it go. Some councillors there were in tears. I was not quite affected like that. What I would say is I was very disappointed of my time on Mendip District Council. I felt that the Liberals missed an opportunity. They could have gone to Cabinet. I think that might have been quite a good thing, rather than sorry, could have gone to committee rather than Cabinet. I think that might have been quite a good move to make. Certainly seems to have been useful for other councils, such as the District Council at Stroud. I was deeply disappointed by the response to the climate emergency, and the response seemed to be that there wasn't an emergency. But in other ways, there's been some really useful things that they've done. And I think, all in all, that the Liberal Democrats have managed the council quite well under very difficult circumstances. I have an audit meeting that was cancelled. It's been rescheduled when I'm going to be attending an event as Mayor of Glastonbury. So my last meeting will not happen. And it's been quite an interesting experience being on that council. I think it really is down to Councillor Cottle to give the last word, as you're the longest serving member on that council here, and you're also vice chair.
That's very true. Okay, where do we start? Well, I've been unwell for the last month, just over anyway, but that didn't stop people from being in touch with me with my group at Mendip, my Liberal Democrats, as you say. We're quite proud of what we've done, actually. I know it may not appear to be sort of barnstorming, but we've kept the books in balance. We've done very well with that. And I've got to say that Barry O'Leary, brilliant. And to keep that all going smoothly. We've done lots of other achievements. I think the Strawberry Line one, which I think was mentioned, somebody's mentioned that, and I think that's really good. And loads of things. You can see them all. And it was a sad day for me at the last council, the last full council, I've got to say. And Helen, the chair, she was in tears actually, and she found it really difficult to keep going. And it is sad. It's the end of an era. I was totally opposed to Mendip being abolished. I can't help it. I just absolutely was. I thought that the whole idea of the unitary was wrong, and I probably still stand by that. And I just need it to work now, because I'm a pragmatist, and we are where we are, and we've just got to make it work. And it's as simple as that. Even though I don't believe it's taking democracy, I believe it's taking democracy away from people. But we've got to work with what we've got. Something that will be important, so is all the chains and gongs of all of the districts and county one will all go to the Somerset Museum, which is a good thing, and you'll get a chance because they'll be brought around. I believe they're going to be brought around to all the museums in the towns and that for people to see. So I think that'll be quite interesting as well, and there should be some good history stuff going on as well. But yeah, it is a sad day. But I say, as a Liberal Democrat, I'm very proud of what we've achieved. Maybe not as much as some of us would have liked, but we kept it going. We inherited and I'm not being horrible here, Terry. We inherited something that was in disarray, and we had to sort it out, in which we did. And so it was in solid order when we're finishing in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, it'll be a sad thing, but I'm sure Terry will be there on the 24th as well. Yeah.
Not sure.
Friends. But that's it, yeah. Okay. I can't think of much else to say, really. I'm still a bit upset about it now. But never mind, it goes like that, doesn't it?
So I'm conscious that Councillor McDougall wishes to speak, but I know we have another district councillor here. Terry, you're not Glastonbury's district councillor, but you are on the council. Do you have any reflections?
Yeah, I think that it's very sad. I did vote for a unitary, and I thought that it was one of the greater things which we could vote for. Having said that, on reflection, I'm not sure. I think, like you said, Nick, I think maybe democracy has been eroded slightly, but we are where we are, and that came from central government. That's how we should progress. And I'm not sure whether they understood the meaning of the 5 districts. But there again, I'm very sad to see the district councils go. I can leave it at that, because I believe I voted in the wrong way. But having said that, whichever way I voted, it wouldn't have mattered, because central government came down and said that that's what they decreed.
Thank you very much. Councillor McDougall.
My burning question is, are we holding East Somerset planning boards at Shepton still?
We certainly will be, and they will be. And to be honest, I can add this. I don't think I actually added it earlier. There will be longer for people to speak. I won't call it a worst case scenario, but if everybody takes up who's available their 3 minutes, each application somebody could speak on for 45 minutes. I know it's going to be long. And also, to add to this, which will maybe of interest to Indra, is that we're taking on waste and minerals as well. And so that's going to add a bit more.
County does that already, don't they?
Yeah. County do that, not now, but we're taking it on.
As the East.
Mendip East. And as we have all the quarries, the vast majority of the quarries are in in the Mendip area, Somerset East. It's going to be interesting and challenging, actually. So we'll have to see. I think there'll be some times when I'll be stepping out of the room because my opinions are well known on certain subjects. So I will be handing over to Edric, who's going to be my vice chair, and leaving the room on some things.
Stay in the room.
I'm not allowed to, because I have opinions on quarries and such.
So
like.
you're prejudged.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Councillor Napper.
Thank you, Worship. I think that this is one big upheaval, the unitary, but also in 2 years' time we'll have the Boundary Commission coming down on the MP's patch, and I think that will cause a lot of problems as well. So that's something which will happen in 2 years' time, I guess, and that's got to be sorted out as well. There's a lot of upheaval in government, central government and local government, and it's going to take a lot of getting used to, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I come back?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, because Terry just mentioned the parliamentary boundaries changing and all that, and you're really bang on there, Terry, because it is going to be a different world for us. We're going to be on the edge of a whole new constituency, and yeah, to have our say, make our votes count is going to be a lot. It's going to be
absolutely
difficult because it goes all the way down near to Sherborne, and just on the outskirts of Sherborne. So it's a fair completely looking a different way to what we've looked in the past.
I think we've tossed the government right up in the air, and we're waiting for it to come down and waiting for the dust to settle.
I think so.
It'll take 2 or 3 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Councillor White and then Councillor Smythe.
Oh, thank you. I was just wondering if there was a way that we could give thanks from this council to the Mendip district ones, even though they sit on this council as well.
Thank you. Councillor Smythe.
I'd like to concur with Councillor White's suggestion and express a vote of thanks to the 5 district councillors that are here present for all the hard work they've done over the course of the last few years and before in some cases. But before I do that, or as well as doing that, I'd like to ask possibly Nick and Susie with regard to the new legislation that's coming in for photo ID at elections, whereas before Mendip were going to facilitate that photo ID for people who hadn't got driving licences and passports. Are Somerset County Council, the new unitary council, going to facilitate that for those who will need it?
Okay. I can give an answer from the administration that I know, right? I can't say it's a definitive because as a political party and a political group, we're overwhelmingly opposed to the whole idea of photo ID being produced. So what we will do is encourage everybody to have postal votes and do it that way, because I think it's probably the easiest way and the best way to do it if you don't, because to be honest, if there was a snap election in a few days, I haven't got, my passport's running out, I don't have a photo
driving license.
Yeah, driving license. Mine's an old-fashioned one, and I've got no other. I've never liked the idea of identity cards, so I've never had one of those. And so yeah, I would be in a difficult situation. But I am renewing my passport, so that'll be something. But yeah, it's a tricky one because it will disenfranchise not just, or if we're not careful, it will disenfranchise all sorts of people, including people of a certain age who are getting on a bit, who haven't got photo ID, you know? So, tricky.
Councillor Hart?
Sorry, I've literally just Googled this because I was pretty sure that I'd read something, but I couldn't remember where or when, to say that it would be possible to apply for free ID. And so I've literally just Googled it, and it says,
There is a government thing.
all you need to do to register to vote in 5 minutes is make sure you contact them with your national insurance number. And they'll provide you with free voter ID, known as voter authority certificate. If you don't have accepted photo ID, you apply for a free voter ID document, which is known as a voter authority certificate.
Thank you very much.
We have been offering to do that through our.
Who do you apply to?
Yeah.
Good enough.
Because everybody's not. I just do.
Is it applied to the government?
It's the Electoral Commission. So that's
Well,
the.
we need to let people know then.
That's very good.
Yeah, at least.
So, Councillor.
At least there is something for people who, yeah.
I knew I'd read something in the paper, but I wanted to just.
So I'm conscious that it's getting on. Thank you very much, Councillor Hart. I'm conscious it's getting on. Councillor Smythe, you were going to do a vote of thanks. Is there a seconder for the vote of thanks? Councillor Manning. All those in favour of vote of thanks of many district councillors, I'm going to thank my fellows. Yeah, well, we're voting for each other. That seems unanimous. Anyone against? Any abstentions? I think also that we should extend that vote of thanks through a round of applause for many district councillors throughout the years that have helped Glastonbury on the way. I think that's worth. So to receive verbal updates from representatives of outside bodies. Yes, Councillor White.
Thank you. Town deal. Many of you will know that the various grant funding agreements are signed or have said they will sign them, and that's good enough for most. There might be one or two still sort of negotiating details. Most important thing is this Saturday, the 18th, in St John's Hall, St John's Church, is a town deal open day from 11 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Normally we have them in the town hall. I found out about 10 days ago, oh, it's in the church. I went, oh, thank you. So they're working on setting the church up. And when I was at the market today, someone said, we'll do this, and they'd like people to come, please. So all of the stalls, including the enabling project, ought to have at least some presence. That last one is, who knows, but it would be the first time that that one has actually made the table.
Thank you very much. Any other? So we move on to Mayor's announcements. I have one particularly important announcement to make, which is an apology to the Carnival Committee and to Reg Cohen. I'm very sorry that I didn't get to the presentation evening for the certificates and prizes that happened on Saturday. It is a bit unfortunate. I don't know whether I could look to the clerk to try and explain what happened.
Yes, essentially, Your Worship, and apologies from myself as well, Reg, because I was actually quite honoured to have received your invitation. I don't know if you mentioned the date wrong or I wrote it down wrong, but I was convinced it was this coming Friday at 7:30 as opposed to the Saturday just gone. So I was at home in the evening and saw on Facebook the fantastic pictures and videos, and I shan't repeat what I said at home, but I was not best pleased that I'd written the date wrong and had it wrong in my calendar. So apologies on behalf of myself, and I'll apologise to John because I gave the date incorrectly despite having, I tried to check it and I tried to get a member of staff to check it, but we had the wrong date. So sorry that we weren't there, and I saw the pictures and it looked like a fantastic evening. So I'm sorry I wasn't there, and John's just said he was sorry. So
Yeah, I'm doubly sorry, as it was originally in my diary as the 11th until I talked to the clerk. So I do.
So it's my fault.
It's our fault, Connor.
I had it written as the 17th. I was convinced it was the 17th, and it was wrong.
Well, we both didn't double check, so I can only send my apologies to you. I've actually written to Hazel and sent the apologies as well. So I'm very sorry, Reg. I'm sure it won't happen again because I won't be mayor. Councillor Napper.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I've got to apologise to Reg as well, as I'm the representative to the carnival for the town council. I missed that. I missed that a big time, and I also missed the meeting on the 1st. But I certainly won't miss the meeting on next month. Many apologies, Reg.
So what I would say is that the pandemic is clearly over because there have been quite a few civic events that I have been able to attend. A civic service at Axbridge on the 5th of March with the High Sheriff. I've attended a fair trade event here in Glastonbury town that was ably run by Councillor McDougall and Councillor Smythe, and that will help keep our fair trade status. I also went to the Wells Service for Thanksgiving for the 5 county district councils, and that was quite an event really, and there was a symbolic surrendering of the chains of office of the chairs of all 5, that's the district councils and the county council, because the new unitary authority of course is not the continuation of the county council. And I've have also an event next week that I'm going to, which will be the installation of the new High Sheriff. So that is something that we can look forward to. Thank you very much. Councillor
Napper. Tongue in cheek, actually. Maybe if the prize giving and the honours are in the town hall next year, none of us will forget.
That is a very good point, Councillor Napper.
I did say tongue in cheek.
Thank you. Right. Communications and announcements. Do we have any? So we now move on to correspondence.
If I may, Your Worship, very quickly, I can circulate it to members via email, but I've had correspondence from the Chief Executive of Citizens Advice Mendip. Citizens Advice Mendip, the Sedgemoor office, the Taunton office, and one of the other district offices are considering a merger. So they have written to me to let me know that the West Somerset office of Citizens Advice is choosing to continue in on its own, but the other offices are considering a merger as part of the new Somerset unitary, not to be part of the council, but to make the administration easier and to be able to offer in their opinion, better service to those who need it. And I also received an impact report in light of their grant from last year. So I will put that as an item on the April agenda for you to receive that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So news releases. Well, I wonder whether we should send out perhaps a news release around the fact that the Abbey, I don't know if this is pertinent, we should talk to the Abbey about it, but the Abbey is putting on the event for volunteers in May, which is going to be free for everyone. It's going to be on the Monday following, the bank holiday Monday following the coronation. And it strikes me that we will be promoting the Glastonbury's volunteers. We shall be giving our Citizen of the Year award then, and we will also be giving awards for volunteers, and we need to get promotion out about Citizen of the Year and also this volunteer awards that we've got. So perhaps we can tie those things in together and promote all of that together.
Good idea. Do we have any recommendations for Citizen of the Year? Because somebody put one to me.
Well, there will be a formal, Connor, when will we be promoting that?
To use one of your expressions, Your Worship, PDQ.
Okay.
It's on my list for this week. I took yesterday off, and today's been quite busy preparing for this meeting this evening. But I've been in liaison with yourself and Councillor Price in terms of the wording and the nomination forms for volunteers. I believe Scarlett in the office has been in touch with Spark Somerset to promote that to volunteer organisations. I'm just yet to put it out on our social media and website, and that will be happening this week.
So then it will be to submit people's nominations for Citizen of the Year to, I believe it will come to you, Connor, would that be right? Or to admin?
Yes, Your Worship. So there will be an online, a Google form for those who can click through from social media, but there will also be paper forms available from the Glastonbury Information Centre. The digital form comes straight back to me, and the paper forms can go back to the Glastonbury Information Centre. And then at the appropriate meeting, your next meeting, there will be a confidential session for you as a council to consider the nominations and to decide upon the awards.
Thank you. So actions from tonight's meeting. Oh, Councillor Cook?
Not actually an action from this meeting, but I can't see any other business. So
We don't have any other business.
can I throw this one in?
We can only, under legislation, we can only talk to what's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, that's all right. Yeah. Back to the neighbourhood watch.
You could have brought that up in maybe communications and announcements, Councillor. Would you like us to go back to communications and announcements briefly for you to bring it up?
If we can, I mean, I've had a few phone calls.
Can you stand up, please?
Yeah.
Well, Councillor, then please talk to it. We'll go back to briefly.
All right, I won't be long, I promise I won't be long. It's specifically about Garvin's Road, where there's vans that keep parking down there. And we don't know, well, they're saying they don't know the legality of it, but they're pretty confident they know who owns them. And they do stay there from 2 to 3 days. Now, the thing is, when you're coming down Garvin's Road to go out of Glastonbury, it's a visual impairment to anything coming the other way from the roundabout. So I've suggested that, okay, neighbourhood watch, yep, right, we'll go straight to that. So then expanding on that, I thought, well, okay, well, maybe, and they're very much up for that because they're getting a lot of problems down Benedict Street with vans and what have you anyway. So then I thought, well, I will ask here, do we have a kind of central, you know, when people ask, look, I've got one next to my yard, or I've got one over there, or one over there. Is there somewhere that these people can phone, you know, the central point? I mean, it would make sense that it comes from the council.
Well, yes, I guess if
yeah, but you try phoning the police.
So there would be, I would think it would be
illegally. They're doing something illegal.
Yeah, so I think that there's enforcement at Mendip, which will soon be enforcement at the district county council, and also if it's actually visually blocking the road, that would be a police matter. You know, if it's causing a problem for safety, that I would probably do the incident number. But Councillor Henderson.
I was just going to say that Garvin's Road was one of the roads on our list that we recommended having done. Solved that problem.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Napper.
I had occasion to go down the moor, the turf moor, because there was a travelling van parked up on one of the verges, and the mess was awful. What this lady had been collecting, and I got hold of Mendip and told Mendip about it, and I've not heard back as yet. But when I do, I'll bring it up at the council.
Yes, well, thank you. I mean, things like that are also maybe an environmental health report. Again, I would imagine environmental health is now a unitary authority.
Yeah. It's not a very good site.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll come back to actions arising from the meeting. Connor.
Thank you, Worship. So actions that I've noted, I'm to amend page 82 and get yourself to sign it, Your Worship, of the minutes of last meeting. I am to ask a query of the Town Deal Programme Support Team that if the Town Council were to recoup money from the sale or disposal of the planters at any point, what would then be the requirements of that, if it's possible. I'm to bring to the May meeting that Glastonbury and Bloom is considered to be a delegated committee meeting within the realms of the subject of tourism, so that members of the public can be voting members. I'm to create a Climate and Ecological Emergency Advisory Committee Facebook page and give the information to members who then want to make a post themselves. I have just made a note to just remind Councillor Don Francesco, if you wish to submit a motion on the subject of quarries, I've just made a note of that. I have made a note to make sure that Councillor Cottle's report has either already been circulated or will be circulated after the meeting, because I cannot remember off the top of my head whether it has or hasn't been done this one.
Is it on there?
I've made an action to make sure that I remove to receive district councillor reports from the agenda for next month, because otherwise I'd probably leave it on. And that would be embarrassing. News releases, I've made a note to make those about the Citizen of the Year, our coronation and our coronation celebrations, and also to circulate the correspondence from Citizens Advice Mendip on the subject of their merger, and to bring it to the next meeting to receive their impact report.
Thank you very much. So I think now all that's left of this formal meeting is for me to say the date of the next meeting is Tuesday the 11th of April. But councillors, if you would like to just stay behind, because we have just a very brief informal meeting to look at the mayoralty succession. But I now declare the meeting closed. So if members of the public are happy to leave and non-councillors happy to leave, we will just briefly, with the clerk, have a very informal but brief meeting.
Is the next meeting, sorry, is it 10th of April? Is it 10th of April?
11th of April, Tuesday 11th of
Sorry,
April.
I'm beyond. Thank you.